I wish that it was going to be the whole day of this meeting today. When I'm looking at our own agenda and also looking to other events happening, we need the ample of our time. I'm doing this, honorable members, now saying that please put the agenda on the screen. Jabu, suspect is Jabu today. Yes. Honorable members, I'm taking this opportunity to greet you again. And I'm not going to be long because I need that honorable members must interact with all presentation. But honorable members who are here today, in our agenda is in front of us. And this is a very important agenda today. And I'm suspecting that my opening remarks is like this. I do welcome everybody, starting from the ministry, coming to the department, to the NAC, and what you call all the staff of this department, national, and our own staff here in Parliament. I'm going to raise this with due respect to honorable members. According to our agenda, we see what is in our agenda, which were not yet adopted. But I'm raising this thing, honorable members, who are all leaders. We've seen whilst today we're going to have a department and NAC. We've seen events which are happening. We've seen them on the media platform. But the unfortunate part of it, we are not having any briefing by you department and NAC, what is going on in the case of closure of the offices. But I'm going to plead with honorable members, saying that according to our agenda, we've got a very important agenda that we need that information. I'll pleading with you, honorable members, the department and the NAC, that we must deal with the agenda, not forgetting that if we can have time, that we must be briefed on what is going on, because as this committee, we did one other time, took our time to do an oversight on what today we wanted to get information according to agenda. But I'm having a rider, because I know that all of us, we are keen to hear what is it now that the offices are closed. And I can attest to you, honorable members, even myself as a chairperson, I'm not aware of what is happening. No department leaders, no NAC. I'm like your good self. So I'm raising in order that you must not think that also myself, I didn't see what is happening. But my plea is that let's first focus to our agenda, but we would love to know what is it now again, because we are seeing a public commenting on what is going on. Surely as this committee will love to have chance that we must be given and we must interact. By those words, I'm welcoming you all, honorable members. Can I ask apologies? What I know that it was official communicated to me and to my office is that acting DG is having another task, and then there's DDG who's acting today, who is going to lead the delegation. And just now, the Deputy Minister indicated that is in Cabinet Committee meeting. That's only that I know. Can I call Ujabu to give official as the official apologies to the office?
Good morning, Chair. Good morning,
Jabu.
members. Yes, Chair.
Jabu?
Am I audible, Chair?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, members. Good morning, Chairperson. We have an apology from the Minister, Chair. He's indicated that he will not be attending the meeting. He's attending a Cabinet Committee meeting that starts at 8:30. The DM has indicated that she'll be arriving a bit late to the meeting today, as she will also be attending the Cabinet meeting. And we also have the apology from the acting DG, who's indicated that he is in Cape Town attending to the Netball World Cup 2023 matters. Those are the three apologies that we have, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable members, any member who's serving by the virtue of you having your own members, colleagues, who has got an Honorable Mshongo.
Chair, I'm having a load shedding this side. Maybe I'll be
Honorable
cut
Mshongo.
off. Chair, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Chair? Chair, am I audible? Chairperson?
No, it's started already. Yes,
Am I
I'm saying it started already. I'm saying yes, Honorable. Yes, Honorable Mshongo. Yeah, you are.
Okay, I wanted to
Honorable Mshongo.
Thanks, Chair. I wanted to comment on your opening statement, Chair, and I wanted to raise a concern on another issue. Your opening statement, Chair, I concur with it, but one of the things the NAC
I'm still on apologies, Honorable. I'm still on the Mshongo.
Okay, okay, Chair.
Apologies.
Chairperson?
Honorable Adams.
Good morning, Chairperson, and good morning, colleagues. Chairperson, through a discussion, Chairperson, can you hear me? Chairperson, can you hear me?
Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning. Chairperson, through a discussion between myself and Honorable Sabia, she will be attending late the meeting. That were what I could catch on between our discussion. I thank you.
Okay, Honorable members, I'm putting.
Excuse me, Chair. Sorry, Chair. I'd like to rectify something, Chair. The Minister will be joining the meeting a bit late, Chair. The Minister will be joining the meeting a bit late today, Chair. He will be attending the meeting, but he's starting in the Cabinet meeting.
You did say so.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Zondi.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you very much, Chair. I thought you are done with apologies. I wanted to move that we adopt the agenda.
Honorable
and
Zondi.
We note the apologies, but if you are still in the apologies, no, we are noting the apologies, Chair. Thanks.
Okay, honorable members, now let me ask the honorable
Chairperson
members to adopt the agenda. Honorable Mshongo.
Chairperson, can you reserve our rights? Yes, can we reserve our rights on the
Oh,
apologies?
Honorable Mhlongo, honorable members, yes. Oh, noted that, Honorable Mhlongo. Yes, Honorable Mhlongo. I know that we are having a challenge of
Am I audible, Chair?
network.
Excuse, Chair. Am I audible? Can you hear me now?
Honorable Mhlongo, yes, Honorable Mhlongo. Yes,
Yeah,
Honorable
Chair, I was saying we reserve our rights because I think the minister and the deputy
Sure.
minister and the DG.
Honorable members, reservation. Honorable members, we had Honorable Mhlongo is saying they are reserving the acceptance of the apology of the minister
And the deputy minister
minister
and the
and
DG,
you-
because they are accounting officers, they're not here. And then how can this is not a first meeting? Since we've started,
was
we
also
didn't
saying
have
the DG. Yes, absent. You said you reserve your rights of accepting those apologies. So it's recorded. Honorable members, you must all lower your hands down. And now I'm asking the adoption of the agenda. Honorable Zondi.
Yes, Chair. Good morning to honorable members, to yourself and honorable members on the platform and the department. Chair, I move that we adopt the agenda
Honorable
as presented.
Zondi.
Yes, Chair. Chair. Angizwakali, Chair.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Zondi, thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
Honorable.
Chair.
Uyazwakala, I'm saying thank you, Honorable Zondi. Hey, literally, we heard you, Honorable Zondi.
Okay, Chair.
Honorable Adams, I'm suspecting with me, I don't have, maybe even myself, but I've seen that I'm still okay. I don't know whether it's their problem of network. Honorable Adams.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning to all on the platform. Chairperson, I'm second on the adoption of the agenda. I thank you.
Thank you so much, honorable members. You must all members, the agenda has been adopted. And now let me call the department according to the next item on the agenda on overview by the department on NHC. To you, the leading leader today.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I am hoping that you can see my face, and I'll switch off because on my side as well, the network is quite poor, Chairperson. I am DDG.
Not yet.
You can't see my
There's
face.
no face of yours at all.
I switched on. To me, it shows that.
There you are.
Oh, you can see me.
There you are.
Okay.
There you are.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Chair. And
okay, and switch it.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much, Chair. Allow me, Chairperson, to just indicate before I go into the presentation, just quickly, who is here from the department. We have myself, DDG Kumalo, who would lead the delegation in the absence of the acting DG. And with me is the DDG Chikwatamba, We have the Director, Entity Management, Director Tanyana. We have the advisor to the Minister, Mr. Mtobi Chamzashe. We have from the Office of the DG, Lodwick, together with Bongi, who's the director in that office. And I also have got two officials with me, Chairperson, who are part of the PMO that I will be talking about in my presentation, Ms. Mzazi and Mr. Mkuno. And we also from the Office of the Minister have Ms. Bakwa, and from the Office of the Deputy Minister, Mr. Watani. Thank you very much, Chair. I am going to go through the presentation, which our approach, Chair, was to give yourself and the members of the Portfolio Committee an overview of PESP 3 in terms of where we are with PESP 3. The colleagues from the program or the agenda that was sent to us, Chair, the colleagues from National Arts Council would then zoom into National Council PESP issues in more detail and the challenges and the concerns as depicted in the agenda. So this slide that is projected, Chairperson, gives indication of the budget allocation that we are working on this financial year, 2022-23, totaling to 440 million. And for noting is that in the next financial year, the allocation for PESP or the Presidential Employment Stimulus Program is 462 million. After discussion and looking at how we then carry on the objective of enhancement of the creative industry, these 5 entities that are shown on the slide were identified, and the allocation to each of these 5 was as indicated. 3 of them are the funding agencies of the department: National Arts Council, National Film and Video Foundation, and the National Heritage Council that is coming on board for the first time this year since we started implementing PESP. And then in keeping with the commissioning of work from the creative industry, also the Art Bank has been brought on board again this year. They were there in PESP 1, and Business Arts South Africa targeting the enterprises within the creative industry. We have set up this time around, just as lessons learned, Chairperson, from the previous round, we have set up our project management office, which is modeling against what the presidency did in terms of playing oversight. We also have got a project management office this time around, just to ensure that there is proper oversight over these 5 entities. Next slide. Our presentation, therefore, Chairperson, we would cover the issues of jobs projected to be created. We will talk about the budget, just going into a bit more detail around the payment date. And then we'll give a progress update, just quickly talking to not just the National Arts Council, but also the other 4 entities as we indicated. Chairperson, I also need to indicate before I go on that this presentation was sent to the Secretariat, I think about 2 or so weeks ago. So some of the figures and the status would have changed in terms of where the entities are as of today, but I'll talk to the presentation for now as it is. Next slide, please. This slide talks to our projection, Chairperson, in terms of jobs. Our projection is based on a proportional calculation, which was informed by what the allocation and the projection that was done by National Treasury in the PESP 1 allocation. So we basically were then looking at how much was the National Film and Video Foundation granted or allocated during PESP 1, and how many jobs were expected to be created. So that is the kind of formula, Chairperson, that we used also in this one, that then gave indication of our projection of 24,403 jobs. And the model that is being used is the employment multiplier model, as was used in PESP 1 and PESP 2 as well. Next slide, please. This slide talks to budget, just looking at the split, just in a bit more detail, Chairperson. When we started off this process, we engaged the National Treasury around the creation of the DZEC Project Management Office, where we were wanting to bring on board personnel that would just focus for the next 2 years, focus on working closely with the entities at operational level while we remain at strategic level, Chairperson. So our report, as we indicated in the previous slide, does give indication, the previous slide gives the indication that there are 3 jobs that were created there. And these are the colleagues that I was introducing earlier on, the 2 officials, and there's an admin officer that is working with them. But to date, Chair, this is the payment that has been made to the entities that I'm projecting on this particular slide. And I just need to give indication that it was calculated around 4%, where we wanted to do a kind of a calculation that will ensure that we stay within 5%. We don't exceed 5% of the 440 million when we include the cost that we're going towards the project management office. Hence, then the allocation is less, a bit less for the entities this time around. That is the amount of transfer that has been made to date, which I won't read per entity, Chair, but I just wanted to indicate that this goes towards the administrative cost. It's not necessarily something that when we transfer the second tranche, we would then be looking at a report that says, have you spent all the budget? But it would be, as they do every month now, an expenditure report against this, because the expectation is that these admin fees should last them till the end of the financial year in terms of their own project management teams and all the work that is being done administratively. Next slide. We then just talk quickly to the National Heritage Council. They have also, as I said, they're coming on board for the first time as the implementers of PESP. They did their open call. There was an extension to the end of August, and then another extension where they wanted to do their verification during the 2 weeks of September. We have also dispersed to them. Next slide, please. And their report gives indication that they indeed did receive applications to a tune of about 326, quantified at about 8.2 billion in terms of the costing of those applications that they received. The next slide. This is the breakdown, Chairperson. Their category as National Heritage Council is cultural and natural heritage, education and training, living and heritage. But within the space of heritage, be it the space of oral history, documentation of key heritage information and the like. And those are the applications. And this is the split, Chairperson, per province, which they received. And the trend continues, as we have been reporting previously, in terms of the percentage split, as members can see in that slide. Next slide, please. This is the breakdown in terms of the categorization of the applications that went to the National Heritage Council and around the 3 areas or the 3 categories that are indicated. Next slide. National Museum, which we refer to as the Art Bank. When we say Art Bank, we are referring to the project itself that National Museum have been mandated to do. They also opened their call and it closed, and they also got their admin fees, and they are currently, they are running 3 programs, Chairperson, and those 3 programs are the Work-Based Experience Program, where they are placing young creatives in different workplaces. The Art Creating is where they're commissioning artwork from the creatives, particularly in the area of visual art and craft. And then the Mentorship Program is being brought in for the first time this year, where these mentors would be mentoring the artists that are applying for the art creating program. Next slide. This is the breakdown in terms of projection that I spoke about earlier on, and the focus in terms of the focus domain, as indicated, is visual art, but they do also commission work from the crafters. Next slide. On business arts, South Africa, as I said, the target group here are the enterprises within the creative sector. And also, they also have gone through the process as depicted in this particular slide. They are going 3 cycles in terms of their approach. They've finished the first cycle, and they've submitted their proposed allocation to the department, and we are processing their application for the second tranche through National Treasury. Next slide. This is the breakdown of the applications that were received by BASA and the process that they then followed in terms of shortlisting and looking at the level at which these applications meet the compliance requirements. And yeah, I won't read the figures. This is the distribution across provinces, and again, the trend continues. I need to say, Chairperson, all the entities really did put in place their marketing and awareness programs prior to the special call and during the special call, and targeting specifically these provinces that have really not been responding very well to submission of application. But as you can see, as I indicated, also in the other entities. Next slide. This is the breakdown that is in terms of BASA, also indicative of the young people or the applications from the youth or targeting youth. Next slide. The National Film and Video Foundation is the 4th one, Chairperson. And again, they also have gone through the processes, starting almost at the same time with the others. And they also have received their admin fees. They also have their project plan, which also depicts where they are with the process of the processing of the applications. Next slide. This is the breakdown in terms of the work streams. NFVF have got 3 work streams. And I need to indicate, as I was saying at the beginning of the presentation, Chair, that when members see the number 979 there, it's an indication of what had been processed about 2 to 3 weeks ago when we prepared this presentation for the portfolio committee. Therefore, when you see the latest figure from NFVF, or when we come back to update the portfolio committee on PERSP, you might see that the figures would have changed, because this actually basically comes about as they look at the level of compliance of that individual application. You'll see later on their total number of applications. This is just the process of verification of compliance. Next slide. This is again when they were looking at the compliance of each individual project. Let me not belabor this point. Next slide. This is the breakdown of the application. As I was saying, the total number of applications that was received by NFVF is 1985, and there is a breakdown which again follows the trend that I was talking about, but we do have evidence of the marketing and awareness and outreach programs that were also followed by NFVF, reaching out to all provinces. Next slide. Then we come to the National Arts Council. Chairperson, because the NAC have prepared a very comprehensive presentation where they would be going into detail with regard to where they are, the outcomes as they have been requested, and all the concerns and challenges, I would also not stay too much on this particular one. Suffice to say, in terms of our oversight, we are aware that they went through their open call process. They are submitting their expenditure report in line with the expenditure template as agreed with the presidency and National Treasury. And they also did invite us as a department a day before they announced the outcome or the results of the applications. And we are also, our attention on the 30th of September was drawn, they announced the successful applications on the 30th of September. And then the last bullet there, I was talking to the fact that the department was made aware of some news that were circulating on social media platforms, and the NAC was requested to provide a detailed explanation, which they did to ourselves and the presidency, where they outlined the nature and of the challenges that were being raised, or the concerns that were being raised, and they gave us an explanation as both the department and presidency in a meeting format. The applications, as I said, their presentation will then go into detail, but when they received their application, the total number stood at 4810, the bigger group being the online applications as we indicate there, and then they were the manually submitted applications which were all received. The value of the applications that they received stood at 6.3 billion. Next slide. This is the breakdown, Chairperson, per sector in terms of the projects that they actually received, and as they went through the verification process, Acting CEO would explain the variance in numbers there, but it totals up, Chairperson, we've checked that. Next slide. This is the breakdown across the different provinces in terms of both the manual and the online applications that were received by NAC. Next slide. As I indicated, then when you give them an opportunity, Chairperson, they will then go in depth. We just wanted to indicate in closing that yes, indeed, this time around, from the lessons learned and the challenges that we experienced in the execution or the implementation of PESP1, we resolved to have the PMO, Project Management Office, set up within the department. We've got 2 officials at the level of Deputy Director, given a contract of 2 years with 1 admin officer that is supporting them. We're having bi-weekly meetings, Chairperson, with all the 5 entities, and we have bi-weekly meetings with the presidency as well, where we submit and interrogate the reports, entities submit, and we interrogate the report. We also submit reports to National Treasury at the end of each and every month by the 7th day of the month, especially focusing on expenditure and also giving a narrative report. Just in conclusion, Chair, we are on track. We believe in the finalization of the program, this allocation of 440 million by the end of the financial year. Yes, there has been challenges, and we will zoom into the challenges of NAC as we indicated, but we work quite closely with the entities, because it's not only NAC, other entities have got other different kinds of challenges that they are experiencing. But both in technical and our strategic meetings, we work closely with them to try and resolve problems as and when they arise. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you so much, DDG. I'm having the same problem, the load shedding problem, but I'll try to speak and switch off everything. Let me now take an opportunity to give it to the NAC to take the platform. I thank you.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson, and good morning to all the honorable members of Parliament that are with us. And also a very good morning as well to our colleagues that are coming in from the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, as well as my peers, my council members that are with me here today. as well as my executive management that is with us as well. So thank you very much, Chairperson, for this opportunity.
Who is here? Who is here?
Okay, I will go into that. We have got our council member, Councillor Ashley Lachu, that is with us. We have got our Councillor Bongani Tembe. We have got Councillor Dr. Sipho Stole. We have got our acting CFO, Mr. Jason O'Hara. We've got Council Member Kim Matthews. We have got Council Member Nise Malange, and we have got Council Member Stephanie Da Silva, and we have our acting CEO, Ms. Julie Dipofa. And all the other members have tendered their apologies as they have got other commitments today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. And if you don't mind, Chair, I'm going to close my video and just to make sure.
Yes, please. Yes, you must do that.
Thank you very much. I just want to extend my gratitude to the Portfolio Committee for allowing us to come in and make a presentation. And I do want to say, Chairperson, that when we received the agenda for today's meeting, it indicated that the PPC is requesting us to come and speak about allegations, related to PSP3. It did not indicate specifically what allegations that that effectively were coming to light. And what we then decided as an NAC council was to try and cover PSP3 in general in terms of, how the implementation of PSP3 has been covered by the NAC, and to be able to take you into our confidence in terms of where we are as an organization. And so that will effectively be the form of our presentation, and we will also welcome, questions, and we will answer any questions that the members of Parliament would like for us to answer. And then you also opened, Chairperson, by informing us or asking us to address the issue around the office closure at the NAC. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to request the CEO, the acting CEO, Ms. Julie Dipofa, to cover that in detail so that she can be able to also take you into our confidence in terms of the incidents that happened last week, where we saw artists, barging into the NAC. But I don't want to take her words out of her mouth. So let me then just hand over directly to the acting CEO, and then if there are any other follow-up questions, we can be able to deal with them afterwards. Julie, can I ask you to please take the floor? Thank you.
Thank you, esteemed Chairperson. I would like to extend my greetings to the Honorable Chair of this Portfolio Committee, including the honorable members. Yes, I'm in the office. The lighting is quite bad.
I'm saying
because I'm behind the window, but I'll try and shift. I think it will be better this way.
We are saying we've seen you in order that you must be audible. You can switch off now your video. That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chairperson. I would also like to greet my esteemed council members that are in this call, colleagues from the Department of Arts and Culture, and colleagues of mine within the NEC office that are part of this call. Let me first address the issue that was raised at the introduction, the opening of this committee meeting, and I'll then follow with the presentation that I'm going to make. Members, on the 18th of October, this was last week, Tuesday, we had individuals coming to the office requesting information as to why the application was declined. The staff quickly adhered to their demand. They actually issued them with the decline letters with immediate effect. And they then called one of my staff members to come and present the letter and read it out in a way that is in a form of recital in front of everybody whilst they're filming, the staff member. And obviously that was unacceptable, and the staff member refused to do that. Then I heard that there is a commotion. I went downstairs and I spoke to them through the reception to understand what the issue was, because they came, they requested reasons why they were declined, and this information was given to them. But of course, they were unhappy with the results that were given to them. And I noticed that one of them, their applications did not even serve to the panel because it was non-compliant. They then demanded that they're not leaving the NEC office under no circumstances until they get money from the office, because there is money. I mean, mind you, I don't, as a CEO, adjudicate applications. I don't even have the mandate on the power as per the Act to approve any applications for PSP in this regard. In our discussion, it became so heated and they threatened violence to us, you know, as staff members within the NEC, especially myself. So in this era of GBV, the violence that is meted against women and children and the threats, so it became quite important that my safety and the safety of my staff is taken into consideration. And we had to close the office in light of that. As I speak, there are staff members working in the office. And as a matter of fact, it's been happening since last week. We are doing work. Work is continuing. We have requested staff in the interest of their safety to work from home, but there are no interruptions in our server. All services are being rendered in this regard. So we will be opening the office once we know that the threats have died down. But this was in the interest of safeguarding the safety of our staff members amidst the threats that were put on against us. I will proceed to make a presentation.
Proceed.
Okay. I hope everybody is able to see it. This is the presentation that we prepared for the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Sport, Arts and Culture by the NEC on the Presidential Employment Stimulus Program, which we call PSP3. The contents of this presentation will cover the introduction to PSP, what PSP3 is about. We'll also cover the funding call highlights and the outcomes that we have received. We'll also cover the processes of the adjudication of application forms, as well as the approval processes that were done by Council. We will also give feedback from the industry announcement that we had. We had a webinar on the 30th of September prior to releasing results. And we will also cover information post-announcement and the way forward. During 2020, the presidency created a special employment stimulus program called the Presidential Employment Stimulus Program, which is geared towards employment creation and retention of initiatives for artists, creatives, the heritage sector workers, and cultural workers. At the time, the NAC covered the heritage sector in terms of its PSP implementation. The program itself includes, but is not limited to, support to innovation in digitization efforts for content creation and the dissemination and development of e-commerce system. If you recall, members, at the time, we were at the height of COVID-19 and work had to be streamed in order to be showcased. Now about PSP3. In 2020, the presidency made another employment stimulus program available to the sector through the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture, DSEC, to be disbursed via the National Arts Council and other funding agencies that the DGG has covered. It is referred to as PSP3. The PSP3 program will strive to meet government's objectives of job creation with a clear focus on targeted groups, women, youth, and people living with disabilities. PSP3 is also aimed at promoting human capital development. That is why even in our call, we did encourage applicants to consider applying for capacity building programs. Unlike PSP1, the NAC call did not include heritage projects, as the National Heritage Council was tasked to manage heritage-related PSP project as per their mandate. The NAC was allocated 180 million 4% was allocated towards the PSP management fees. So we were left with a total of 172,800,000 that was allocated for full disbursement to the sector. Now coming to call highlights, we opened the call on the 20th of June, 2022. We then closed on the 29th of July, which was a period of 6 weeks since the call was open. And we announced the results on the 30th of September, 2022. The budget available for the announcement, as mentioned, is 172,800,000. This was disbursed across the 7 arts disciplines that the NAC is responsible for, and these are music, dance, theatre, multidiscipline, visual arts, craft, and literature. We have received 4,765 applications, which were valued at 5.7 billion. Included in this figure are the 342 manual application forms that were submitted. Of all of these submissions, we had 41 submissions which had no application form, so we could not deal with them initially because they are no application form, and they are not application forms per se. Hence, the figure it's lower than what the department has reported on. But they are aware of what we are dealing with that is faced us in terms of the numbers. So, in addition, there were also 4 applications that were already registered on GMS that came manually. So we could not count them in once we did the verification and finalized which ones are real applications and which ones were not. So we couldn't duplicate this number when we were doing our final verifications. In terms of the number of applications that came through in each of the respective disciplines, we received 367 in craft, 320 in dance, 1,142 in music, theatre, 512, visual arts, 406, multidiscipline, 1,749, literature, 269, giving us a total of 4,765 applications. Of this figure of applications that we have received, the 4,765, only 1,890 were fully compliant and were thus referred to the advisory panel for adjudication. Only compliant application will then be forwarded to the various panels for scoring, review, and adjudication. This actually means that only 39.6% of the applications received were worthy to be considered, were eligible to be considered because these were submitted to the panel, whereas 60.3% applications were declined due to non-compliance. And you see, as you can see, this number it's quite high. Of the 4,765 applications that we received, and if 60%, which is a big number, is not compliant, this is a problem. So applications that were referred to the panel for adjudication per discipline were as follows. Craft, we shortlisted 201, valued at just over 184 million. Dance, 174 were referred to the panel for review, and these were valued at 168 million, just over 168 million. Literature, we had 141, valued at 108 million. Multidiscipline, 618, requesting 842 million and above. Music, 362 applications requesting over 416 million. Theatre, 229 requesting over 224 million. Visual arts, we shortlisted 165, and this requested over 144 million. So in total, we have 1,890 applications allocated to the panel for review, and overall requesting just over 2 billion, whereas we had a budget of 172 million. In terms of final outcomes for each of the disciplines, dance, we funded 89, music 97, theatre 77, multidiscipline 117, craft 76, literature 75, visual arts 88, giving us a total of 619. In terms of what was allocated per discipline, this was the budget that was aggregated to each and every discipline when they said and reviewed applications. Craft, we have 76 approved at a value of 17.2 million. Dance at 89 applications approved, valued at 13.8 million. Literature 75, They had 12,960 million allocated to the multidiscipline, which is the biggest discipline. We funded 179. The budget allocated to them was 50,112,000. Music funded 97. The budget given was 38,016,000 rands. Theatre 77. They had a budget of 22,464,000. Visual arts 88 with a budget of 18,144,000, which gives a total of 172 million that was available for disbursements, with a grand total of 619 as approved by council. This is the provincial spread in terms of what each province received. Allocation-wise, Eastern Cape received 60 applications valued at over 17 million. Free State 63 applications approved valued at 15.8 million. Gauteng 131, which is the highest so far, receiving over 34 million rands. KwaZulu-Natal 81, receiving 21.4 million. Limpopo, we approved 76, valued at 21.3 million. Mpumalanga 58 applications approved, valued at 17.3. Northwest 58 approved, valued at 116. Northern Cape 37, valued at 12.7 million, and the Western Cape received 55 applications approved, valued at 14.8 million, giving the total of allocation 172,800,000, and 619 were approved. Now, coming to the adjudication and approval processes. I'll take you through the various processes of reviewing and approving of applications. Phase 1, which is compliance. This is office-based work. The NEC staff checks all applications received for compliance requirements. If an application passes this compliance phase, it is then recommended to the next stage, phase 2, which is panel review. Independent panel members review applications that have passed compliance checks. The review is purely to ensure the quality of artistic merit of the application and to individually score the applications that are in front of them. Once the panel members have completed their scoring, they collectively meet with their chairpersons, who is a council member as per the NEC Act, to deliberate on the final score that will determine whether an application gets a recommendation to the POCC for further approval. The POCC is the panel of chairpersons comprising of members that are chairing all the panels who are council members. This is a committee that consists of panel discipline chairpersons. The committee holistically reviews all the applications that the panels have recommended and ensures a process of aligning the recommendations against council imperatives that occurs at this level. During this stage, some panel recommended applications get eliminated from the approvals due to a number of strategic or sometimes operational reasons. A consolidated list of all recommended applications are then sent to council for approval. During the process of approvals, POCC then tables to council a consolidated list of recommended applications, including projects proposed for elimination, and approves a detailed review for council consideration. Council reviews the list against certain principles it has in place to ensure fairness and equity of applications. It is during this stage where strategic controls are tested. For example, project duplications identified, provincial equitable distribution is also tested, and non-arts related projects are looked at, projects with conflict of interest, etc. That may have been identified during the POCC review are confirmed for elimination or provincial redistribution during this special council sitting. Council then, during this process, task management via the POCC to replace the eliminated projects with projects that have been already reviewed by panels, to resubmit a list for approval once the exercise resubmit a final list for approval once the exercise to correct any errors has been completed. The final process was council reviewing the list from POCC as per council approved amendments and approving the replaced project beneficiaries. Phase 5, presentation to DSEC. At DSEC's request, a briefing was held with the DSEC PSP team, which was hosted a day before the industry announcement to brief them on the PSP adjudication process and final approval principles. DSEC provided valuable input and advice to the NAC. Now, coming to the industry announcement, we hosted a PSP industry announcement briefing session via Zoom, which is the webinar that we had on the 30th of September 2022. During this meeting, the NEC advised the industry of PSP outcomes and learnings observed during the PSP management process. Industry feedback highlights on implementation of PSP. This is what the industry said back to the NEC. The industry expressed their appreciation at how the NEC had communicated throughout the PSP review processes. They also applauded the NEC for delivering the PSP results as per announced deadlines. Industry expressed concern at the high number of declines announced versus applications received overall. Industry also voiced their concern or distress on why the NEC does not communicate with applicants after the closing date to ask them to resubmit missing or correct information, particularly where applications are not compliant. So the industry expected us to open up the whole system and ask them to submit all the missing information. They actually cited that other sister entities like the NVF and others are doing this for their application post-funding closing dates. And as you can see, the numbers of the NEC are really not the same as what the NVF is receiving. But at the same time, we don't find it to be correct to actually start opening the GMS for people to resubmit their incorrect information or non-compliant documents. It just compromises the whole process from the onset. They also requested clarity around the appeals process and also asked, is the NAC not engaging with Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on industry funding issues such as lack of funding? These were the responses that we gave back. We noted and thanked the industry for recognizing the efforts and strides made by the NAC towards being an organization that intends to work closer with artists. Requested the industry to be cognizant of compliance matters. As a matter of fact, we presented where we saw that people were actually at fault in submitting documents. For instance, sending ID copies that are not certified or that do not have days, letters of reference that are not signed, incorrect banking details, and so forth. And we actually explained that we are guided by the PFNA and our policies that actually bind us to be in line with compliance requirements as we have published them. The NAC Council and Management noted with great concern the number of applications, over 60%, that did not proceed to adjudication due to administrative non-compliance and failure to adhere to the requirements stated in the call for funding guidelines, namely uncertified copies of identity documents, unsigned, not dated reference letters with no addresses, and incorrect confirmation of bank details, to name a few. Continue with our responses. This was concerning to the NAC because at the beginning of the council term and to enable access to artists for funding, the NAC removed several unnecessary compliance barriers that prevented us practitioners from submitting their applications, which actually meant that they were precluded from the onset of the review process. These barriers included requirements for company financial statements, these were out, valid tax clearance certificate at the time of applying, and also a 6-month certified identity copy. To ease compliance application restriction, Council resolved that only successful applicants would be required to submit a valid tax clearance at the contracting phase, meaning that this would not be a determining factor whether the application proceed for further review by the panel. Council also resolved that only financial statements related to the NAC-funded projects must be submitted at the conclusion of the project, and that up to 12-month identity copy documents would be accepted. So we extended the period from 6 months to 12 months to ensure that even identity documents certified in the previous year could still be eligible to be considered by the NAC as a compliance requirement. Furthermore, to address this compliance barrier, management embarked on capacity building initiative to assist the sector with application processes. And these workshops took place from 4th to the 15th of July, 2022. Physical as well as virtual workshops were held where prospective applications were taken through the process of navigating the grant management system and what to submit as part of their applications. The NEC informed the industry that due to being a public entity that must adhere to PFMA, the NEC is unable to interfere or influence applications by contacting applicants to submit correct information post the closing date. Doing this may also expose the NEC to being accused of unfair practice by applicants whom would not have been contacted or reached to supply the correct information. In terms of the appeals process, the IDC advised the industry that due to PSP3 funding being a special funded project from the presidency, there was no funding allocated for appeals, as all funding would have been allocated to all approved applications. Engagement with the PPC on lack of funding in the arts, the NEC responded by informing that during a previous presentation to PPC, we have tabled a request for additional funding up to R1 billion rands over the next 3 years to address this funding challenge. We also continue to reiterate to the industry that the funding issue is the one that needs to be addressed with absolute urgency, as this clear and a remote departure from what the industry is requesting and in relation to the budget that we have. The fact that the NEC received over 5 billion worth of application and only had a little of over 72 million to disburse is extremely concerning. This means that the NEC was only able to fund 3% worth of applications that were received. There was a genuine interest from industry to collaborate with the NEC and other stakeholders to approach relevant government structures to increase funding to the arts. It did actually indicate that Treasury should be approached to increase the allocation to the NEC. The sector has grown and needs to be recognized and funded accordingly as per the numbers that we have shown. The NEC continues to seek ways to strengthen its governance and controls. Following on the last PSP1 outcry, the NEC strengthened its policy around conflict of interest. This was resolved last year by NEC Council approving the policy that confirmed that staff members, council members, and panel members would not be eligible for funding during their tenure at the NEC, including their companies or direct relatives, for instance, spouses and siblings. We also recognize the need for the NEC to further educate the adjudication panel members, their role versus the council role, as we have encountered some panel members misinterpreting their role as being final approvers instead of being adjudicators to recommend to council applications for approval. Final approval of applications lies with the accounting authority, which is council. We have also received communication from various panel members, from various members of the industry, that they are not happy with the outcomes of PSP3 results. Each decline applicant felt that their application was viable and important towards contributing to the arts in South Africa and globally. The NEC acknowledges this outcry as it stands. We also confirm that many of the applications declined had nothing to do with the artistic merit of applications, but rather due to funding in the sector. The NEC did not have enough funding to cover all the good applications that were declined, and a lot of them were declined due to budget being exhausted as allocations have been made. So sadly, a number of applications will receive decline letters stating that no funding is available for their project. This adds to industry's frustration with the NEC because the funding expectation versus the funding available are worlds apart. We are also equally sensitive to provincial equitable distribution, and by this principle, the NEC Council and Management ensured that marginalized provinces received the most funding, whilst also ensuring that no province was left behind within each discipline. So every province was accounted for in the allocation made in each of the disciplines. The NAC, as a way forward, would like to extend our gratitude to the presidency, to the National Department of Sport, Arts and Culture, and Council for entrusting the entity with the implementation of PSP3. We also sincerely thank the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee of Sports, Arts and Culture for their continued oversight that it extends to the entity. We're also looking forward to implementing PSP4 in the next financial year. And that's where my presentation ends. Thank you, Chairperson and members.
Thank you so much, Bali. Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think we are ready to take any questions.
Honorable members, let me take this opportunity to give it to the honorable members to have engagement with the two presentations. I'm seeing the hand of Honorable Mhlongo, Honorable Madlingozi, Honorable Veronica, Honorable Joseph, Honorable Adams, Honorable Zondi, in that order. Will pardon Honorable Maloman, those who may be cut because of load shedding. They will retry and will give every member an opportunity to interact. I thank you, Honorable Mhlongo.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, Acting CEO and the colleagues and the NAC. Chair, I want to start with the question that you've raised at first, which is NAC, it's not proactive, but it's reactive. I put it to the chairperson or to ever the CEO that you only gave your media statement after my media statement, after 4 hours after my media statement. Now it shows that you are not proactive, you are reactive, because your duty is to inform us anything that will come to our attention. We must know. We must not get it from other angles. I think it's totally uncalled for you to be reactive than to be proactive, especially on the closure of the office. It's uncalled for because your mission statement is clear that artists must access the office. Nonetheless, I'm not going to read my media statement, but nonetheless, Chair, why I wanted to ask the acting CEO, how many people, you are saying people, them, how many were there that made you to close the office, to take a decision? And why didn't you open a case of GPV? You're talking about the GPV is high. What did they do for you? If they want to know where's the letter of decline, I'm asking, the question is, how many letters have you issued, love letters? It's either decline or approve. How many as we speak? And another question, Chair, to the CEO. CEO, I wanted to find out, when did you workshop or educate or develop artists, especially regarding the PSP, the application, what is needed, the requirement? Have you ever had any workshops that you've done, and where were they, and how many people attended? Why I'm asking this, because we cannot have high application and the decline it's low, which is 1,000, which is uncalled for. Now you check something, it's not done accordingly. Now, let me go to the questions that I wanted to ask, especially regarding the vacancies. Chairperson, through you, what does the NAC policy say regarding the extension of acting in any position? What does the policy say? Who are those who are currently acting in different positions in the NAC? And in what capacity are they acting? What is the policy? Is the policy applying to all, or is the policy applying in order for them to act or extend their appointment of acting? How many vacant positions do we have at the NAC? And how many acting positions which we have at the NAC at present? Vacant position, how many? And how many acting positions that people are acting, and how many which are vacant? And if there are more than 3 months, maybe we have a acting position for more than 3 months. Why is it taking for so long to fill those positions? And what is the involvement of council chairperson on these vacancies? Why is the previous marketing and communication manager What happened to him or her? Can you get an update? And what is the position right now? Who is filling the actual position? A communication manager, marketing and communication manager. When did council given an approval that they approve all this PSP? When was this done? Can I get a resolution date? And we'll take it from there. And Chairperson, for now, because I know I will ask more questions, can I find out in the total amount, because I'm checking the figures, the budget allocated from presidency and the amount to date, which has been utilized, how much it is, because I don't see that, or maybe I've missed on the presentation. Thank you for now, Chair. I hope I'll get the second bite.
Thank you,
As
Honorable.
member of this committee.
Yes, you can do that, Honorable Member, like any
Thank
other
you,
member. Honorable Mahlengos.
Thank you, Chairperson. Ngicela ukubulisa bobonke, ngicela ukuvala funda le nto izawuhlupha.
Sikubonile.
Ngicela ukubulisa, ngicela ukwamkela indwendwe kunye nenkokheli ezisiphetheyo apha ekhaya kanye nabalingane bam abakule portfolio committee. Chairperson, listening and reading these presentations makes it impossible that they are coming from the entities that are riddled with litigations. And I'm worried that they could be using monies earmarked for artists, creatives, and sports people to cover and bulletproof themselves from the anger of the masses, Chairperson. Chairperson, the whole year, the Department of Sport and Culture has come to the committee with not a good story to tell, definitely. And now, Chairperson, on the NAC issue, can they give this committee, they put us to light as to why there are these dubious invoices that the media is talking about? Why are they happening? And can NAC please put us into light as to, is it true that they are paying monies for lawyers to answer our questions? If it is like that, then they are definitely incompetent, Chairperson. And if they are, definitely the department that they are under, also is very incompetent if they can let them do that. Chairperson, this entity, National Arts Council, comes to this committee and decides not to answer questions and start to dilly-dallying about compliance to the POPI Act, not wanting to respond to this or that. The question is, what are the remedial actions that the public protector gave them? Like the binding remedial actions. That has got to be clear, Chairperson, because nothing is very clear on it. While artists are dying and suffering in depression, they are calling cops, into protecting themselves when artists and creatives want answers to be, questions to be answered. Chairperson, back to the Department of Arts and Culture, it is clear here that the department concluded that contracting process and administration and the cost were 883 for National Museum. And at the same time, again, the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture concluded the very same processes and everything for a different entity, Business and Arts South Africa, for the same price of money. After all these years, Chairperson, why is the department looking like it is automatically, like copy and pasting these figures and everything as if it is not respecting this committee? Chairperson, the committee is becoming a toothless entity if we are not going to, force this department to come up with, the results should be very clear, Chairperson, that it is our committee and they have to report to this committee to make sure that things are happening the right way. Chairperson, on this last point that I have, I know that there is another councillor there by the name of Ubongani Tembe. Chairperson, the question has been asked over and over again. What is Tembe's position in KZN and in Johannesburg? Why is he raking a lot of money on both of these, and also at the same time being the councillor, the member of the council? Can it be very clear what his position is? Because the Department of Arts and Culture vehemently refuses to answer anything that has Mr. Tembe's name on it. Thank you, Chair. I will come with questions later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mahlengosi. Honorable Van Dijk.
Thank you, Chairperson. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, Honorable Member.
Okay, thank you, Chair, and thank you also for the presentation. I've got a few questions on information that was also on social media, and I just want to get clarity on that. It was shared on social media that the approved PSP 3 list funding was published late. Can the council confirm this? And it was also said in this communication that the council had spent 2 hours and were fiddling with the final adjudication decisions of the advisory panels. I'm just presenting to you what was in the media. So can the council maybe provide reasons for the delay if there was a delay? The other question I have is Section 11.2 of the National Arts Council Act states that advisory panel shall consist of persons who have achieved distinction or have special knowledge or experience in the field of the arts. And it also says in 11.3 that this panel shall advise the council on the merits of the application for grants. I'm a bit confused. If there's a council member chairing this committee and this panel of experts has decided on the merits of funding, and then I assume the council chairperson will approve of this, why would there then afterwards be a need for the council to change this? Is that not done by a management, the management team that actually has arts development officers? The reason I ask this is I also want to request the terms of reference of the POCC as approved by the council, and whether that represent the, because it's represent a policy that governs the mandate and responsibilities of the POCC. What guidelines of authority or policy allows for the council members to review a decision of the advisory panel, as these, as already mentioned, are supposed to be experts in the field? Another question that I have is, can we as the committee receive the original funding list? Can it be made available as well as the list with the changes so that we can see what the reasons were for the changes made? And I want to know whether when after the council said, if any projects or funding that was declined were then afterwards included on this list. The last question is, I want to know whether you received any letters from the panels that did the adjudication for this fund, PSP 3 funding, and if you received any letters, can that be shared with this committee? I think it's important that we also know what the concerns are that you raised. I also have a concern that you on 7 PSP 3 post announcement that you actually says that you want to further educate the adjudication panel members on their role. I think their role should be clear when they were appointed in the first place. I have a concern around that, but if you can respond to the questions I've posted, I will appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Veronica. Let me welcome the Deputy Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture. We appreciated that you have started early in the other meeting, but you are with us now. Thank you, DM. Let me call now Honorable Dennis Joseph. I thank you.
Good morning, Chairperson. Morning to the Ministry and members and the entities. Thank you for the presentation. Chairperson, I'll switch the video off. I've just got questions on the first presentation, Chairperson. I would like to start off just to ask if the project management office, I've heard it is a two-year project, an appointment. So I would like to know if that 2.7 million rand allocated is for the 2 years, or if it is only till March 2023, and then of course another amount be found to fund the project office, the work of the project office. I also would like to know, Chairperson, who the project management officer report to. In other words, who's the senior person in the department that will take responsibility for that work. And then, Chairperson, just I'm covered by many of the questions asked by members, but I just want clarity on this review committee of the National Heritage Council, and also the Arts Bank and Business Art. If these committees have a time period or for specific work, and if it is so, to what financial years can we look at? Because does it coincide with the time frame of the project management office? I just wanted that questions for now, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Dennis. Honorable Adams.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, let me switch off my video. Good mornings. All my greetings goes to everybody on the platform. And Chairperson, my question will be to NAC, National Arts Council. Why does the NAC not develop a threshold of financial support to ensure equitable distribution and to include more artists? My next question, how does the NAC monitor and evaluate the progress and outcomes of projects and artists supported by the PESP to develop evidence-based decision-making on more impactful disciplines? And my last question, Chairperson, on NAC, which arts disciplines are more economically impactful? Chairperson, and then I have questions to the department. My first question, when will the National Heritage Council disburse the funds, and are they within their project timeline? I will stop there, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Adams. Honorable Zondi.
Thank you, Chair. Ngibulisile esihlahla malunga hloniphekile wonke. Chair, thank you very much. Few questions, Chair, I'm covered on the two questions with regard to the National Heritage Council, and also the more artists, more disciplined artists. I had those two questions, and they are covered, Chair. Chair, I will start with Umashobani in her acting capacity. What significant challenges are affecting the entities implementing the program? And what support is the department providing to assist? On the NSC chair, I still have confidence in the leadership of the NEC, irrespective of the challenges raised before. In their first 6 months in the office, we didn't even know what question to ask. But steadily, they are doing quite well in terms of addressing some of the challenges that are raised by the artists. And we understand, Chair, that the NAC cannot, they cannot disperse they cannot satisfy all the artists at a go or at once. But the program in assisting artists is a much appreciated, Chair, and we see the difference. And the guide from the department, Chair, there were so many questions, but the guidance and the management on the side of the department, we are seeing the difference, and I still believe that they still have the will to do good. Chair, the last question that I want to pose to NAC is just one concerning equitable funding distribution across the provinces. What are the criteria or standard applied? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Zondi. May I ask few questions? Let me take this opportunity to thank Department, NAC, and my colleagues. Let me ask this first question. The outcome of only 3% of the applicants being supported in the PERS 3 is reflecting the financial gap in funding artists. What sustainable funding model or ecosystem can be developed to support artists? Also, can I ask which policy changes were made to avoid the problems faced in the first PERS? And then from this process, which matters related to the policy have to be reviewed to strengthen the processes and to ensure internal controls hinder abuse from the education team? I'm suspecting that we do acknowledge that even the NAC is recognizing this gap of just only 3%, and we do appreciate that you also see that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, Honorable Malomane.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Honorable Malomane, get late in the platform. You must look at other questions that you want to raise, whether the honorable members, did they raise anything that is left? You must try to talk to us. Honorable Malomane.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Greetings. Let me first apologize. I don't know what is the challenge of my network. I'm in and out of the meeting.
Load shedding.
Yeah. So I just want to shoot straight to my questions because maybe it will cut me. This one it will be to the department. Why is the National Heritage Council application total for just 326 projects valued at over 8 billion? Why does the NHC not develop a threshold of financial support to ensure equitable distribution and to include more artists? And to the National Arts Council, the outcome of only 3% of the applicants being supported in the PEPS 3 reflects the financial gap in funding artists. What sustainable funding model or ecosystem can be developed to support artists? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Let me take this opportunity to go back to the NAC and to our department. Then we'll check the time and take the follow-ups. Chairperson Mbali. Honorable Zondi, lower your hand. Chairperson Mbali, or any member.
Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Chairperson, you are struggling. You are cut. Can we, while we're trying to check to be in the right venue, can we give someone from your team whilst you're still trying to sort yourself? We can't hear you.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. Can I then ask the CEO to do the first start, if she can hear me, Julie?
Thank you, Chairperson. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Thank you to honorable members for the questions asked and the comments that they have made. This have been noted. We're always striving to improve our manner of operations, and we'll certainly ensure that.
Who's speaking? Who's speaking?
Julie speaking from the NAC.
Judy?
Yes, acting CEO.
Where are you? Where are you?
NAC meetings.
Where are you? Where are you in the platform? I want to see that face.
Oh, okay. I can maybe show up the face.
Oh, okay.
Can
Okay.
be?
So
Yes,
you did to us. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. Go on.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'll actually start answering to the questions asked. We were asked whether we did capacity building workshops. It's actually a norm. It's got nothing to do with PSP, that prior to running project funding, we would start first with capacity building workshops. And in this regard, we did virtual workshops. We also did physical workshops in the provinces of KwaZulu-Natal and also with Gauteng, as well as the Free State, and earlier on we touched the Northern Cape as well in terms of physical workshops. We have released 617 grant notification letters, and of course the 3 that are left out, we're still doing a bit of risk assessment before we can release those applications, which is part of our M&E pre-allocation, pre-award, and is also post-award. In
Just
terms
a moment. Just a moment. The minister joined us also. Thank you, DM, the minister. After your meetings, that you must join us. Thank you so much. We do appreciate. I'm sorry. Go on.
Thank you, Chairperson. Noted. In terms of the acting positions that are currently At the NAC, we have 4 of those. We have my position, the acting CFO and the acting marketing and communications. There's actually 3 of them. Apologies. It's actually 3 of them. The approval of PSP, Council did this in 2 phases. The first meeting we held with Council was on the 28th of February, the 28th of October, apologies, Chair, 28th of October, where Council made a recommendation for the list and eliminations to be done, where there were applications coming from that were approved coming from hospitals, where there were applications from community radio stations that were funded, and where there were also a very high budget allocated to applicants. Initially, we had a list of 585, but with the eliminations as well as the reduction of the funding allocations, we ended up with 619, which actually meant that more beneficiaries actually stood to benefit from the funding itself. We've also noted that with the additional funding that we have made, we have about potentially 3,386 additional jobs that we're going to be potential jobs that were going to be created with this additional funding that we've had. We've been releasing decline letters, as they call them, love letters, in batches. You can appreciate that with over 4,000 decline letters that have to be issued, it's a process. You just don't click a button and release them. We could do that if we're just giving one standard letter. Unfortunately, the sector wants to know specific reasons why the applications were not approved. So we have to update information on the grant management system, and then thereafter we will be releasing those in batches. And I believe the dance sector will be completed this today. In terms of the next question that was asked, there is information with regard to our policies that we try to improve from the first PSP, which would be the legal vetting, the vetting, no, sorry, not legal vetting, but the vetting of applications as they come through, as they are being declined. There's a second eye, there's a certain group that actually goes through those applications and ensures that they were correctly declined. And in cases when application was not correctly declined, it is then referred to panel for review. In relation to the question asked in terms of the public protector, as to what remedial actions have we done, I would like to emphasize that there were 4 actions that we needed to do. Number 1, we needed to issue a letter of apology to the complainant, which we have done. As a matter of fact, 2 letters were sent, one in June last year and one in July last year. We were required to revise the policy in question, which we have done, and there was also, we were supposed to do legal vetting of the policy itself before final approval. Those processes were completed last year. The public protector also requested management to do in relation to the policy, but also to develop a standard operating procedure, which we have done and signed last year. And finally, the 4th action that needed to be done was for the whole staff to actually declare conflict emanating from 2015 in terms of projects initiated. We have done all of those processes and completed them. There was also a question as to why we published the results late on the 30th. We announced to the sector that we will announce the results at 4 p.m. but we actually announced at 5 p.m. This really had nothing to do with the list being changed or anything. But however, once we started uploading the information, there was so much traffic, as a matter of fact, over 60,000 visits on our website, that actually people could not even access it. In the meantime, while that mishap was being corrected, we actually elected to even post the information on Facebook for artists to access the information. Our advisory panels are inducted from the time they start working with the NAC. Induction itself cannot be a once-off activity. I think as we continue to work with panels, we also do host a feedback session, post-funding feedback sessions with panel members to ensure that we constantly are on the same page as we operate. The POCC does not approve any funding. It actually recommends to council to have applications approved. So the POCC itself reviews applications and satisfies itself that proper processes were in place before it can recommend anything to council for funding. There was also a question on monitoring and evaluation, how we manage the progress and look at the outcomes of the funding that we have funded. We have dedicated M&E staff to assist us with PSP. And in addition, the as development officers who are responsible for managing the projects internally also do have an input to make in terms of looking at specific risks of projects and informing the M&E staff. In addition, we also have a risk and compliance officer who's actually even assisting us in implementing and monitoring what people are doing on the ground. But in addition to that, we have set up a reporting template in a manner which would allow us to gain quality information that applicants will be reporting on. And there is quality assessment and in terms of proofs that they need to submit, proof of expenditure, financial statements that are looked at by independent accountants or independent chartered accountants, depending on the threshold of the funding that we have given. There was also a question asked on which disciplines are economically quite impactful. I think with the research done by SACO last year, it is indicated that the visual arts are playing a very important role, particularly in accessing markets, the products accessing markets overseas, and ensuring that income is gained, there is financial gain in this regard. And there was also a question posed about the significant challenges that we have found as we implement PSP. So clearly the funding deficiencies are a big problem. With any funding that the NAC is actually dealing with, the demand far exceeds the supply that we have. As a matter of fact, one would want to make an assumption that if we had sufficient funding, we wouldn't be having a lot of disgruntled people. And of course, we have noted that over 60% of people have not actually complied. But with the funding workshops that we have done, these we actually address. Compliance does not actually emanate now, but it's actually been a problem that we've been dealing with. Hence, we have capacity building initiatives, prior to closing date to ensure that we assist these applicants. But please be mindful of the fact that since council was aware that these compliance issues are a problem, we have actually lessened the compliance requirements and made it even less cumbersome for applicants to submit documents. The fact that IDs that are certified for a period of 1 year are acceptable. It's one of the examples that we have tried to lessen the compliance requirements. The issue of tax clearance certificate and PIN status is only being required at the contracting phase, which means nobody can be precluded from entering the system of review if they don't have a tax clearance certificate, including the removal of financial statements at the time when people are applying. So these are the challenges that we're facing. I mean, the funding deficiency, I'll see it as the most important one. Because even if people had complied, even if we had over 3,000, over 4,000 people complying, we were not going to be able to fund all of them. And on the issue of the equitable distribution across provinces, the NAC, through obviously observing what Treasury allotments to provinces has to be, we have set up a guidelines that we shared with panels as to how much can be allocated to each of the provinces, or obviously trying to stay within those thresholds. So there is a minimum percentages that can be allocated to the various provinces, especially noticing that applications from the Gauteng province are huge in number, but also the quality of these applications really deserve funding. And unfortunately, if we're going to fund just based on merit, we will fund significantly, mostly Gauteng only. But because we're conscious of provincial spread of funding, having to be equitable is quite important, that all the provinces, no matter how small, the applications can come through those provinces. We actually need to ensure that they are supported. Noticing that we were only able to fund 3%, there could be other models that we can propose, like introducing partnerships and also having partnerships with international markets to ensure that the artistic products and services that our industry are showcasing can be able to be showcased and access international markets for further dissemination of South African products and artworks, but also for financial gain, where there is economic development. This can be proposed. However, this would not necessarily solve the issue. The issue really is that the NAC needs to have an increase in its allotment of funding. In terms of the changes that we have implemented, having learned from the PSP1, of course, number one is having enough resources internally to deal with the applications and to ensure that the turnaround time is as it is per published dates. We also needed to ensure that all applications are completely reviewed. There's no application that can be left without having a proper review, either from a panel or from the office. Hence, we also have a vetting system within the office. We've also ensured that every application that goes to panel, we monitor how panels are reviewing and scoring these applications, is to ensure that all applications that are seen by the panel are completely scored. If a panel has 5 members, all the 5 members have to review each and every application, unless an application that they're declaring interest, which is automatically taken away from them. Those ones, they will not be able to declare. But in terms of internal management of the application process, we have learned from PSP1 and ensured that in PSP3, all of those checks and balances are actually in place. So the monitoring from the time applications reach the office to the time they reach the panel, we monitor timelines, deliverables within the staff, and also deliverables of the panel members, and ensure that at every panel sitting, there is an assessment report that is given. In the terms of the review of policy, quite significantly in relation to conflict of interest, this one we really had made significant strides to ensure that all applications that are actually approved, we minimize, or we eliminate, rather let me say, we eliminate conflict of interest when these applications are reviewed, and ensuring that where members have declared interest, the applications do not direct interest, let me say, where members have declared direct interest, the applications do not get funding from the NAC. Chair, I'll stop here.
I can just
Mbali, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Try to.
I want to also address Member of Parliament Mhlongo. Speak up a little bit. Is this better, Chairperson, or can you not still?
Now,
you still can't hear me.
Now it's better.
Is it okay? Apologies for that, Chairperson. And actually, let me start by first greeting the Honourable Minister and the Deputy Minister as well. Before I respond, what I was saying, Chairperson, was that I'd like to cover some of the questions that our acting CEO may not have covered. And one of the questions that was asked by Member of Parliament Mhlongo was in relation to, and he's saying, why did we not open up a case? I will ask Julie to, speak to that. But what I do want to just say, honourable members, is that we really are very concerned about individuals storming our offices and threatening our staff, especially in the manner in which they did last week. And what is important for us is to ensure the safety of our staff members and of course the CEO. And I don't want a situation where we need to be only then taking these matters seriously, once, something really, serious happens. And I mean, the way the violence, I think, escalates when the individuals are actually approaching the CEO and the staff members is very, very concerning. So I really do want to just stress the importance of the fact that, the NAC wouldn't just, lock the doors. And we effectively, are not locking the doors because the services are still continuing. We are still continuing to work. There is not a single beat that we have missed. So Chairperson and honourable members, I just want to be able to just, I think, highlight the real safety issues that we are dealing with when it comes to members of our staff. And then also to highlight the fact that we are taking our role very seriously and still continuing to work, even though, there's limited staff that is effectively present at the offices. So there is staff at the offices. It's just that we're not working at full capacity just to try and minimize the risk. I also want to, I think there was a question that was also asked around how much was allocated to the NAC for PSP versus what has been dispersed. 180 million was allocated, and then 4% was allocated for management fees, and that has then left 172,800,000. Madlingozi, who also, I think, asked some questions around, or maybe I think he was probably speaking about some of the media articles that have been coming out, saying that money is, artist money is being used for litigation. I do want to clarify, council members, that the NAC Council is not using funds meant for disbursement to do litigation, within the entity. These are operational funds, and I would like for us to be able to separate those two budgets. So we are not, for example, taking money that has been allocated directly for funding and then using it for litigation. These are completely separate funds, and we just want to be able to just give you that comfort. And then also we do see that the allegations of invoices and things that have been said in the media, and we do want to also recognize the fact that sometimes what the media says and what is reality are two completely different things. For example, I think the article that Honourable MP Bandlingozi is referring to is an article that came out last week that listed a lot of invoices and suppliers that had been paid out. And when that particular journalist had even approached the NAC and asked questions related to this, they never put in any of that information that they eventually had printed. So they never even gave us a right to reply or to respond, because what we effectively would have said is, please show us this proof of what it is that you're saying in terms of invoices being paid for particular services, so that you can then be able to allow us to give some form of right of reply. But at this point in time, we are just finding sometimes, I think, journalists that will print, stuff in the media that is contrary to what the reality is within the entity. But I think we've come to accept it that the nature of the entity that we are, perhaps it really, does make headlines. So we are finding ourselves, continuously in the papers because people want to read about the NAC, whether the, information is correct or whether it's incorrect. But one thing that we will do and that we do is we do respond to media queries. And we have found that the response that we give to the media is then not effectively what becomes published. What then the NAC has even decided to do is to publish the responses that we actually give to the journalists on our website so that there can be transparency and people can be able to see what it is that we had sent through to the journalists versus then what is then published. I also want to thank Honorable Zondi, who I think has acknowledged the strides that the NAC has really done over the last year and a half. And also just, it really is appreciated for honorable members to appreciate, I think, the difficulties that we have experienced as an entity since we came into council last year, and the fact that we really are trying as a council and management to try and stabilize the NAC as best as possible. It really is a very difficult entity, but we enjoy what it is that we do. We are very passionate about the arts, and we will continue to serve this entity in the manner in which it deserves to be served. And all of this because we love the artists that we're here for. I think what I would like to, of the POCC, which is Dr. Sipos Twele, because he was effectively chairing the whole session with relation to PSP3, and worked very hard alongside the acting CEO in terms of getting us to where we are. So I would like to give him an opportunity to also perhaps say a few words. Dr. Stole, can I give you the floor?
Thank you so much, Chair. And thank you, Chair of the Portfolio Committee and other honorable members, and also to recognize the Minister, the Deputy Minister, and wishes from DSEC. I am not going to regurgitate what my colleagues have already responded. I think they have responded in full, except just to share that my role as the chair of the panel of chairs is to receive a report from each chair, who is a member of council, on the various art disciplines, where we then look at whether we are performing in as far as our mandate is concerned and the objectives are concerned. And I think the NAC has got the biggest remit in terms of the art disciplines that we represent. 7 of them excluding bursaries, so it's 8 with bursaries. I mean, we deal with music, craft, theatre, visual arts, multidiscipline, dance and literature. And all of these applicants or applications or projects and art disciplines are equally important and individually so. So there is no one other that is more important than the other. And as the council, once we've received a budget, we allocate according to each art discipline how much is available that the panel members or adjudicating members can then work with. And the frustration by the arts practitioners in the industry is something that we really feel and we are concerned about. And we also understand that there is no amount of funding that we think will be enough to actually meet the requests from the industry. And as the acting CEO mentioned, I don't think there's any other distributing agency that received over 4,000 applications to the tune of 5.2 billion rand. So when we see artists coming to the NAC and storming, if I may use that, as it happened last week, demanding to be funded, basically they are saying all 4,000 applicants that applied, they must be funded by the NAC, and that the NAC must have 4.2 billion rand to fund them regardless. That is the kind of message that we are getting when they come to the NAC. And as the chairman, the acting CEO mentioned, that even the ones that went to adjudication that had passed the compliance test was over 2.08 billion rand. against the only 172 million rand that we had to distribute. So it is a challenge that we also want the honorable members of the committee to be with us and to work with us in as far as how do we really deal with this challenge. I mean, there's a question about funding gap and our funding model. One of the things that we have even highlighted when we've had strategies with DSAC is that the private sector wants to fund this industry in the form of donations in some instances. But we've been made to understand that SARS does not issue Section 18A certificates for donations received towards the arts. And that becomes one of the issues that we would want the members to help us as members of Parliament to look at some of these regulations and some of these laws so that the issues can be funded to the extent that we want it to be funded. And we've also made input, even when we've had our discussions with DSAC, that, for instance, there are countries where, like France, when is a budget in terms of the total fiscus, a certain percentage by law is already declared at national, at provincial, and at local, that it goes to the arts sector. So we don't have to wait whether the Minister of Finance has decided, Treasury has decided to make this allocation to the arts, because it's part of the law that every time, if it's 1 trillion rand budget for the country in terms of the total figures, a certain percentage of that will go to the arts. And this is where we would want to move to. But I want to just respond to the issue around thresholds. There was a question which I really thought is an important question that we must answer. The thing that we experience as a challenge is that because we've got limited funding, what then happens with the adjudicators, they agree as far as the highest scoring applicants, that if you have scored 89 or 90 or 7, we will stop there. So people who have scored 50, 47, actually, even if they have been approved in terms of project is concerned, they cannot be funded because the money has been exhausted. And one of the interventions that we made as council was to say we need to reduce that threshold so that more applications could be funded. As a result, our intervention resulted in an additional, as acting CEO said, 84 additional projects funded that had already been adjudicated and approved by the panelists, except that there was no more money to give them because we reduced the threshold and we came up with other funding principles like the limit or the ceiling for each project that can be funded. And as a result, then we were able to add an additional 3,385 jobs and ending up with a total of just under 40,000 jobs created by the PSP. So I think for us, what we are trying to say is that we are equally concerned and the number of applications we are receiving against the money that we have and the decisions that have to be made and the prioritization. And it is in that spirit, Chair, that we are trying the best that we can as this council to make sure that we fund more people. And the acting CEO said, it was this council that removed of the hurdles. Tax clearance, financial statements. We said, but why do you want financial statements from a company when we have not given them the money? Because they must report on the money that we have given them. All we want to know is that do they exist as a company? And they've got all the papers in place. We'll ask for tax clearance if they are approved. That's why we are able to get more applications so far. But the compliance matters still remain an issue. And we just appeal to members to work with us in finding mechanisms of increased funding for this sector, because these people have chosen nothing else other than being artists, whether they are crafters or they're theaters or visual arts. That's all they want to do. They don't want an 8 to 5 job. And the industry employs over 1.3 million people before COVID, contributing 7% to total employment of this country, growing faster than any other sector in the country other than agriculture and mining. So it is an important sector, contributing 74.3 billion rands to the total to the GDP of this country. It cannot be ignored. And thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sithole. can I take this opportunity to give the department that they must have their stake? I'm aware of Dr. Kumaro, and I'll give it to Minister and DM. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson. I will respond I want to extend a greeting to the Minister and the Deputy Minister. I will then respond to the questions that are picked up that were directed to the department, Honorable Chair. There was a question from an honorable member. In fact, there was a comment fact that was saying the department has no good story to tell, has had no good story to tell this whole year. I don't know, it was a statement, Chairperson. However, just to note that if we are focusing on the issue of PESP, I want to just indicate that the utilization of PESP 1 and 2 was reported to the Portfolio Committee, and we did report on more than 38,000 jobs being created. Direct and indirect. I did refer to the employment multiplier model that we use. So there's direct employment, there are testimonials to the effect, Honorable Chair, and then there is indirect employment, which then translates to this employment multiplier model that we keep referring to, where we give, like what NAC does, where they give funds in line with the project proposal, and then jobs are created as a result coming out of those. So we have indeed, we have also indicated, Chairperson, that we are in no way saying we've met all the expectations in as far as the creative industries applications were concerned. Honorable member also indicated that he sees the copying and pasting in our report and made specific reference to the National Museum, which is the Art Bank, and BASA getting about the same amount of about 800,000 for admin cost. There is, we can assure the Portfolio Committee that that is not cut and paste. I did refer to how the allocation of admin cost was done. Out of the total amount of 440 million, we had to calculate the 5 million first, the 5% first. So if you do your calculation, the 5% of 440 million translates to 22 million. So the direction and the guideline that we were following from National Treasury was then saying, out of the 22 million, we then deduct the 2.7 million that goes towards the PMO, the Project Management Office. And that left a balance of 19.3 to go towards admin costs. So the directive was that we don't exceed 5% in terms of the total 440, not calculating individually. That is how we then ultimately came to the 4% plus, because if you calculate, it's not exactly 4%, but it's 4.1, 4.2 or whatever percentage, because we had to stay within the 5%. Why National Museum and BASA have exactly the same amounts is because they got exactly the same allocation, Honorable Chair. Their allocation is 20 million. As a result, it then translates to exactly the same amount of admin cost that they would incur, hence the transfer was exactly the same. They definitely no cut and paste, Honorable Chairperson and members. There was a question from Honorable member on Joseph on the issue of the PMO that has been set up in the department. We had to bring on board extra capacity because, again, as I was saying, the experience from the first round and the second round, where we did not necessarily have any office set up that was doing oversight in as far as this allocation of PESP. modeled against exactly what the presidency did. So because they confirmed the allocation for now from National Treasury is only for 2 years. The contracts that we signed could only also be aligned to that. Given the time at which the PMO was set up, which was from August onwards, the officials that serve in this office are therefore going to complete this year and then have a full year in 2023-24. Translating to covering those 2 years, minus a few months in terms of when we started, because we had to do the recruitment process first, which was an open recruitment process. So it's that period. The 2.7 million is only for one financial year. So for one financial year of the 440 million, obviously we would then, that's not just for salaries, it's any setup cost of this office, including any resources that these 3 officials are using, be it laptops, cell phones, etc. Who do they report to? The project management office reports directly to the Deputy Director General of Arts, Culture, Promotion and Development, which is myself, as I am the one that have been given the responsibility by the department to play oversight over the PESP. Hence, also I'm making these reports to honorable members at the Portfolio Committee. There was a question around the National Heritage Council. Honorable Member Adams, but also Honorable Member Zondi did indicate that he also wanted to ask that same question. The National Heritage Council, as I said, having come on board for the first time and given the 65 million, they are falling behind. They've had some challenges, which I will also cite, as I have a question from Honorable Zondi asking about the significant challenges that we have had. Specifically with National Heritage Council, it's been mostly teething challenges, where they have actually been assisted in terms of making sure that their system is operational, making sure that they've got capacity in place, and the right kind of skill and competency to actually monitor and or manage and administrate this funding. They have really done their best. We have had a meeting led by the minister also with their board, where the board has also committed to making sure that they also play their oversight and monitor the management in terms of the National Heritage Council whole administrative process and project management of this PESP allocation. They are falling behind, as I'm indicating. Their projection of when they will be disbursing the funds is the 5th of December, this 2022. However, in our meeting, we have really raised our concerns and requested that they revisit their process flow timelines so that they can be able to see whether they can be able to cut the time without actually compromising the quality of the work that they will be doing. We are also still assured through the board and the CEO in the National Heritage Council that they really doing their best to make sure that they deliver on this project. Having learned also from the bi-monthly meetings that we have with the entities, where they are able to pick up some of the tips for improvement and best practices. In as far as the issue of the significant challenges that the 5 entities generally are experiencing, I want just to start off, Honorable Chairperson, by saying the process that we followed was that once we had agreed with National Treasury and Presidency that these are the 5 entities that would be implementing, then there was an issuing of grant letters or confirmation that you have been appointed to administrate PESP this financial year. Subsequent to that, then the entities were all submitting concept documents outlining how they would execute the work, including the process flow maps, be it Gantt charts or whatever system that they are utilizing. Upon signing, before signing the contracts or MOAs with each of these entities, they also submitted project plans, Honorable Chair, with timelines, and they also submitted risk mitigation plans, where we had asked them to identify in advance what are the risks that they envisage could actually be experienced and what are the mitigating factors. So when we talk about these bi-monthly meetings that we have on Thursdays, where CEOs of these entities and project managers would come and table their report to us, they will talk to these project plans and risk management. That is where we are then, Honorable Chair and members, to pick up whether they are falling behind and look at how the turnaround could be achieved. I also want to just indicate that the main key challenges over and above just the general and operational issues that are challenges is the whole issue that also Dr. Stolle and NAC are talking about around the high level of demand versus what is available for each of the 5 entities. Insufficiency of the budget that we have. Obviously, we work within the budget that has been allocated to us as a department. However, the high level of demand really has become quite a challenge. However, each of the entities come up with this kind of verification and adjudication processes that we then are able to monitor in terms of implementation thereof. There was a question, Honorable Chair, on the National Heritage Council total of 326, why it's over 8 billion, if I got the question from Honorable Malomane correctly. If you look at that slide, Honorable Member, it basically is based on the sum requested. So there are 326 applications, as you correctly say. However, when you actually look at what the applicant A or applicant Z would have asked for, you would find that and you cost that, because for instance, in one of these 326 applications, you might find one application saying they are requesting for 5 million. So that sum of more than 8 billion is based on what is contained on each and every individual proposal. That is how the figure actually comes about. I hope I got the question correctly and that I am responding to your question as you had asked it. Honorable Chairperson, those are the questions that I noted that were specifically addressed to the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture, and I hope I've covered all of them. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, DG. DG, I'm seeing before I give the Minister and Deputy Minister, I'm seeing that we do have follow-up question. I've seen the hand of Honorable Mhlongo and Honorable Madlingozi in that order.
Thank you, Chairperson. Siyabonga Chairperson, Deputy Minister no Minister bafikile kodwa ngibaboni go virtual, but nonetheless tinkaling ngihoqise my comment if they're here, but if they're still not here, I still stand with my first proposal when we started the meeting. But nonetheless, yes. Chair, my questions.
They are
Chair?
here.
They are here. Okay.
Yeah.
Nongbone last two Chair, Minister ngazu connect. It's fine, Chair. I apologize. But nonetheless, Chair, I wanted, if you've listened to them, they've never answered my question. And I asked myself, did they even implement our first recommendation as a committee? Because we gave them a list of recommendations, issues of love letters, that they must be out with immediate effect. They only told us now they're going to be out today. Now, what do you expect? Obviously, you expect chaos. The question is, when will the office be open in full capacity? And when will the money, outstanding money, is going to be used and for what? And questions which were not answered. It's like the NAC policy regarding the extension of acting position. You did not tell me. What does the policy say about acting position? No one responded to that. Who are those currently who are acting? I need the names. And on which capacity are they acting? I did not get that. Chair, I wanted to find out what is the involvement of the chairperson of the council on vacancies. No one responded to that. Is she involved or not? If she's involved, on what capacity she's involved in appointments and everything. Another question, Chair, why was the previous marketing and communication manager, Otola Petla, moved from another unit? What was the reason for her to be moved? What is the call center number? No, I have the call center number. Who is managing the call center number of the corruption watch line, which is 011 010 8855? Who is managing that at NAC? And there's a email corner. Who's managing the corruption watch line and emails? And what is the status? How many emails do we have that? Because I'm told that I have emails that they are there, they don't respond to. Who is the chairperson in the council of marketing and communication unit from council? Because I can see Ubabus Tole, chairperson, the council, ya PSP, Uschele Gabanzi, na ma example wakhe chair anghambisani now. Ngeke abantu baze office uthi bathi increase mal baze laphana because unrespondanga to them. They only get the letter on the day. It's not because they need money. They need, if you apply, you must get money because you've applied. No. If I have applied, if I don't compile, obviously I'll fail. I'm not going to get the money. And when I come to the office, doesn't mean good. I need correspondence. There's a two-way stream. Communication was poorly done. And I've said it even on my statement. No one responded. Only after I've issued a statement, only NAC told us on the media that the office is closed. But that is not proactive, it's reactiveness, which is, we've recommended that tell us, go to the media if there are any things before they go out of hand, as they did even on this one of the office closure. Is the NTT or NAC adhering to the Department of Labor? Are they adhering to labor acts and requirement, especially on their own staff? For an example, on maternity, can I get an answer? What is the process followed to submit the approval and the motivation of the payroll? That is my last question. The question that which I answer, it's the workshop. I'm saying, when was the workshop before the ESP starts was done, but virtual? Where was it? When? Venue? How many people attended? Can we get that? I know not now. Can we get it later? On the three positions that the acting CEO told us about that they're acting, when are they going to be advertised? When are we going to do away with Hollywood's actors? Can we get permanent people in those positions? Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you. Can I correct what I've been doing, calling Chairperson Dlamini as Mbali? My apology. I know they are similar, young and vibrant. I know now that Mpemeti, she is here in the for EAG office, but I'm suspecting also the network is haunting us. Some of the questions were answered, questions of Honorable Mhlongo, with the first person who was answering. But there's nothing wrong that you must repeat what you have answered, and you must answer the other follow-up questions. Honorable Mahlingozi.
Thank you, Chairperson. I will sound like I'm a broken record, but I have to. Chairperson, the National Arts Council comprises of competent members appointed by the Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture through a transparent public participation. And umbuzo one was Bongani Tembe's appointment as both KZN and Johannesburg CE and Artistic Director sent through the transparency that they're talking about, because it is stated that a council member may not serve as a council member and staff, or because that constitutes as the conflict of interest. I'm not fighting Nobaba Utembe, but these are the questions that are asked from us, so we need answers. And I see that this question is being sidelined somehow and it's not being answered. I don't know why, Chairperson. Because Chairperson, sorry, I don't know whether it was Her Royal Majesty that says once in Jogba the contract that Mr. Tembe's seat is not with them, but is with the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture. Can I get a clear indication on that? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Mhlongosi. Honorable Sibia. After Honorable Sibia is Honorable Adams.
Okay, thanks, Chairperson. I don't know what is going on with my
network.
Greetings to everyone. Yeah. I think more than 6 questions are not yet answered from Honorable Mhlongo. Because Honorable Mhlongo is not yet answered, is it not possible to give the department to respond in writing those questions so that we save time? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable. I'm repeating to Honorable members, there are questions which were responded of Honorable Mhlongo, whilst there are those that they must pick up just now when Honorable Mhlongo is doing the follow-up, because I'm writing all the questions and I was having no network. There are questions which were very critical that Honorable Mhlongo asked and they were responded to, but there's nothing wrong with that department. They must repeat and try to answer all the questions. Thank you, Honorable Sibia. Honorable Adams.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I've only got 2 questions to the department. Question 1, what sustainable funding model or ecosystem can be developed to support artists? What working is the department undertaking in this regard? The last one, the Business and Art South Africa, BASA, distribution, unlike the other PESP programs, this is skewed mainly to Gauteng and KZN. Why is there low inclusivity in these programs, and was the support adequately communicated to the public? I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Adams. I'm taking back to you, NAC and its department, and the ministry will come at the end. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you for noting that the name is not Mbali, but I did like the name Mbali, and I was getting accustomed to it actually. I'm going to start. No, it's fine, Chairperson. Let me maybe start with Honorable Member Mhlongo, and I can reiterate to say that operations at the NAC are at full capacity. There is not a single service that has been down just because we have had limited staff. And I really want to caution around us making it a really big deal about the fact that the officers, have got limited staff. We, are responsible enough and are ensuring that we are in such a critical process of PESP and even our own call for funding in terms of making disbursements. And we are cognizant of the fact that each and every service is going to continue uninterrupted. And that has been the case since last week, Tuesday. But again, I will say what we will not condone, what we will not accept is violence and threats to our staff that will, put us in a situation whereby tomorrow, should anything go bad, and the next thing there are body bags, that will be on us. And we will always make sure that we'll protect our staff, excuse me, against any type of violent behavior from any individual that comes to threaten anyone at the NAC. I also want to address another point, and this one is in relation to the chairperson because, meaning myself, that Honorable Mhlongo had asked and saying, is the chair involved in operational appointments? No, I am not involved in operational appointments unless it relates to a council member. Only then, does council then come in to be able to assist through the process. Yes,
Chair.
Yes,
Chair. Chairperson.
Please wait, Ma'am Kaula. There's somebody on the platform. Please. This person is on the platform. I'll give you after this person when he finished to answer.
Okay, thanks, my love. Yeah, love. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. And I just want to confirm again that I as the Chairperson, am not involved in any operational appointments. That is done by the CEO and her members of staff operationally, and they have been handling that very, very well to date. And then, excuse me, I also want to ask Chairperson that any question related to the Mzansi NPO and its staff members, if we can get DSAC to be able to handle those questions. And I think I would like to hand over to Julie, our acting CEO, if she's got anything to add. CEO?
Before that, Julie, my apology, Ma'am Kaula. I didn't see your hand, Ma'am Kaula. Can you talk maybe this problem of network, Ma'am Kaula?
Ngiyabonga sithathu wami ngibingelela kwi-committee ngibongela kwi-presentation inkinga sihlushwa yiyo nje ukuthi ayi lento load shedding iyasihlukumeza. No, lana chair kukhona umbuzo okwabuzwa u-Honorable Madlingozi regarding ama-artists agcina eshona engenalutho bese sibona futhi uhulumeni esengenelela sezowanikeza umngcwabo omkhulu westate ukuthi ngempela thina la eSouth Africa ikuphi la sobona khona ama-artist ethu elekelelwa ebhekwa kube ne-meeting la kuzoke kuhlalwe khona nawo wonke akabike izinkinga zawo abhekene nazo. Kanjalo nakulaba besoka abadlala ibhola lakho into enjalo ukuthi ke sibone phela laba ke behlale phansi lakho nje siyabona iKaizer Chiefs yongena ehlathini nalapho ke sibabone beyohlala phansi nabo babheke ukuthi inkinga ikuphi eyenza ukuthi bengaphefumi njengoba sibona ibanyana bayana. Sengcina nje ngoba nami ngila ngikhona kukho right. Yila ngibona usithole lapha uMondise ake sibone phela ngoba bona ngiyakhumbula ngezikhathi zabo ezikoleni bekudlalwa ama-sports siyabona manje izingane ziya ngokuqala phansi ka-A zidlala ingoma zidlala ibhola zizimisele ziyacula ezikoleni sezizehaya nezingoma zesintu ukuthi kuphi la sobona khona lonke leli phupho elizama ukulibuyisa ezizama ukubuyisa ezikoleni lihambe libonakale babalekele ngey'nsiza, mhlawumbe imvunulo, mhlawumbe ibhola, sidlale ingane, kube nemicimbi emikhulu, ama-competition lana kuthiwa khona ziyohlangana. Kuyele lesa sithunzi sakuqala, ngoba iy'ngane manje mawuthi uyabheka lana, khombisa ukuthi lo mnyango wethu awuyibheki ukuthi zikuphi, yini okufanele zithuthukise ngayo. Yingakho siubona ezinye zazo nje mayibona ukuthi ayiperform kahle ngapha esikhona sithatha isinqumo sokuyibulala. Kanti if ayiperformi ngapha ngokwencwadi, iyakwazi ukubhekelela kuma-skills. Gcine le ngane suyibona isiyenza lukhulu. Ngiyabonga Chair. Mina nje bengizocela nje ngesingami ukuthi besiyeke manje lo silanda nge-theory, ake sibone kwenzeke. Ey'koleni asibone ama-ground, sibone ukuthi nakho kuyadlalwa, kuyacula, kuyadlalwa, yonke le micimbi ekhona ukuthuthukisa isizwe sakithi. Ngiyabonga Chairperson, Nkosi yami, xolisa ukungena nge-window.
Siyabonga Mamkhawula. Continue. Who was on the platform? Who is next to respond?
It's
Acting
me,
CEO. The CEO.
Acting CEO, please. I'm sorry about that, Acting CEO. CEO.
Yes, Honorable Chairperson, I'm here. Okay. I actually thought I managed to respond to some of the questions that Honorable Mhlongo asked, but I will still repeat.
To them, yeah.
I did mention that if we had one standard letter that you are declined, you will click the button and submit all the 4,000 at a go. But we're unable to do that because every artist wants to know specific questions or specific answers why their applications were declined. The process itself, it's once applications have been vetted, declined by the panel or declined by the office, those specific reasons have to be uploaded on each applicant's profile on GMS before letters can be released. So it's not something that you can, at a blink of an eye, release. Respectfully, it is a process that we need to follow and ensure that people are receiving correct reasons as well. In terms of the outstanding money that is coming from the department that needs to be released, the first installment or disbursement that we received, it was mainly for administration purposes, that about 9.7 million that has been already sent to the National Arts Council. The second tranche that we're waiting for will be utilized for the disbursements of the funding to the various beneficiaries that we will be approving. And I believe the money is en route as we speak. Coming to the policy on extensions, the NAC policy on extensions, it states that one can be on an acting position for 3 months. And thereafter, the position can be rotated if there is another incumbent that can do the respective work that is being done. If none, the position can be extended over time until the position is actually filled in. The NAC is actually currently assessing and looking for a new CEO who would take up the position of the NAC of the CEO, and any vacancies that are open would actually be advertised and they will be filled in that respect, including the CFO as well. On the issue of the correction of the
point of exigency, Chair, apology, Acting CEO. Chairperson. I apologize, Chair. The question says, when are these positions going to be advertised? I didn't get the answer. Yes, okay. I understand. That is the question. Do we have an ETO or we don't have ETA or not?
Acting CEO. Acting CEO.
Chair, I'm here.
Yes, continue.
Okay. I was given an explanation to say processes of securing the appointment of a CEO is in process. So I can't give an exact date as to when this position will be advertised, because once those processes have been followed and we have a CEO in place, then those positions can be advertised going forward. Unfortunately, out of respect, I don't have a date for now. Now, on the issue of the corruption watch, we do have a log of all complaints that we have received. There is somebody meaning that responsibility that we have assigned from the office. This was also a question asked on a specific individual as to why they were removed from the position. I'm not in a position to respond to that question directly because the person has already accepted the new position that they have been offered to by the NEC. Thank you, Chair.
Any intake?
Chairperson.
Okay,
Yes,
okay, DTG.
Thank you, Chair. Can we respond to the question around the appointment of Mr. Tembe as a council member? I have my colleagues from the unit that deals with issues of governance, Chairperson, if through you, you can allow them to then address that question. I will come back then and talk to the question about BASA.
It's in order.
Chairperson, apology. I sincerely apologize, and I don't want to be. I've been quiet.
Honorable Mhlongo, you rather do follow-ups rather than do what we are doing. Can you give them chance to take the questions, and if you still feel that your questions are not responded to, we'll give you the chance. Can you wait that they must all respond? Thank you. DDG.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Tanyana, DDG Mandisa.
Good morning, the Chair of the committee. Good morning to the Minister. Good morning to the honorable members and colleagues. Yes, my name is Butsiso, working in the entity oversight, responsible for the process to appoint councils and boards. The appointment of, maybe I must say that the appointment of the council members of the National Arts Council are done in compliance to Section 4 of the NAC Act. One of the requirements is that the minister appoints an independent panel, which then shortlist and interview all the applicants or nominated candidates in public. And then those people are recommended to the minister for appointment. So Mr. Tembe was one of the candidates or people that were nominated who went through a process, a public participation process, interviewed by an independent panel, and his name was subsequently among the names that were sent to the minister for appointment, and he was appointed then. There was no objection in relation to Mr. Tembe as per the requirements of the Act, and hence he was appointed as a council member. Secondly, the provision in terms of who is not allowed to be appointed as a member of council is clearly captured also in terms of the Act. And the question of employment of Mr. Tembe as the CEO of the KZN or Johannesburg Philharmonic Orchestra is not one of the reasons that could be used to preclude her from being appointed as a council member. So the process that was followed was not in contravention with the NAC Act. Mr. Tembe was duly appointed in following the Act, and also by the recommendations of an independent panel to the minister, like all other council members. Thank you very much. If maybe there are additions from the DTG, I would just give that space through you, Chair. Thank you.
DDG Kumalo.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Chair.
No,
DDG Mandi.
yes, saying direct them, DDG Kumalo, no problem.
Okay, okay, thank you very much, Chair. DDG Mandisa.
Thank you. Good morning to Chairperson of the committee, honorable members, Minister, Deputy Minister, and everyone on the platform. I'm just triggered because the call was for additions. Perhaps what I could add is that further to the appointment as a member of the council or as the board, the governance principles further make other provisions to say, if it so happens that after you have been appointed as the member of the council or the board, you find yourself conflicted in some of the work or discussions of the council or the board, what should you do? And the provision for one to recuse himself is applied, and it is so applied even in the case of Mr. Tembe, in what may be relating to the orchestra that would have to be discussed and decided upon by the board or the council specifically of NAC. So I think that provision is applied by NAC council. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mandisa and colleagues, Busiso. I am going to cover the issues raised with regard to the applications being skewed. And I just want to start off by saying, as I indicated, Honorable Member, Honorable Chair, the 5 entities did their level best to have the outreach campaigns, awareness campaigns, going out to different areas of the country, doing them virtually where they can, but physically. For instance, NFVF with capacity enabling them, they did those physical sessions as well. However, the trend still continues, even though if you look closely at the individual applications of those provinces that have not been really coming forward with applications, there is a slight increase, but not to the level that we would like it to be. For instance, if I then zoom into BASA as the example cited by the honorable member, 38 applications from Gauteng, 15 applications from KZN, and then the others follow Eastern Cape, Western Cape with 9 and 8, and then it goes down like that. This is part of the reason why, as I indicated, BASA has then opted to go for cycle 2 and cycle 3. Open calls, and those will be going out during the month of November. So even though they have finalized using the applications that they have received, and that is categorized as cycle 1, cycle 2 and cycle 3, our drive in this particular case is to ensure that the outreach is really intensified as much as possible. At the end of the day, it then incumbent on the actual applicants to submit applications, but that's a focus area for us, not at the level and a level of adequacy that we'd like to see. But I'm just responding and acknowledging what honorable member is actually saying, and saying cycle 2 and cycle 3 is intending to really try its best to reach out as much as possible. Honorable Chair, I've noted the comments from honorable member Kaula in terms of even intensifying our programs, but also venturing into schools in both the area of the creative and also the area of sport. I think for me, while we do have programs in the side of creatives and also in the side of sport that go into schools as part of our intervention programs in partnership with the Department of Basic Education, we are wanting to finalize the signing of an MOA with DBE so that it can really streamline and align better the programs that we are doing in schools in both these particular areas, as Honorable Kaula is actually pointing out. Allow me to stop here, Honorable Chair.
DG Kumalo, what now I'm going to do, even to Honorable Mhlongo, I'll give the ministry, and if there are still follow-up question to Honorable Mhlongo, I'll recommend that he must do follow-up in written form, and I'll commit myself together with the office to get those responses in writing and then forward it to all members of the committee, in order that we must be aware that questions have been written. DM, after
Chairperson,
DM, the minister.
Apology, Chair.
Yes.
Can I come in, Chair? I sincerely apologize. I respect you. Chair, you know that NAC, they don't respond to a written question. They take time to respond to a written question. For us to do an oversight doesn't need only written. We only write written question to the minister, not to officials. They even took time to respond. I think we've sent several questions. Now I'm saying this question, the question that I've asked, they don't need a scientist with a balling. Tell who is mending the call center. The name of the person is not mentioned. Okay. When will the office be open? It doesn't need a scientist, fully capacitated. Konamanje, Irola door is closed. I'm here in Johannesburg. Now I'm saying, good, who's fooling who than to say, no, it's working. It's not open. Emission statement, the NAC, people must access the office.
Just now, I want them that they must respond, especially on those that just want that answer. I'll plead it with you, DDG, and the colleagues, that questions that you can just answer, it must not be tethered to be asked. Can you do so? DDG, NAC?
Thanks, Chairperson. The questions from Honorable Member Mhlongo are indeed very specific. Can I ask Chairperson if you can come in? Or
yes. Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thanks, DDG. Honorable, I do want to confirm that we do respond.
We are getting lost, Chairperson.
All the questions that you send through to the entity, and I'm sure the
Honorable Dlamini, can you go to what we ask you to do? Honorable Dlamini, we can't hear you.
There's not a single outstanding.
We didn't hear nothing we heard from you. Your line, it's bad.
CEO, say, is it better now, Chairperson Nomasolo? It's not
but
good.
We didn't hear you anything. If you are referring to CO, it's fine. Thank you.
Okay, let me repeat myself. Thank you, Chairperson. What I was confirming was that I wanted to address the point that had been made by Honorable Mhlongo, and where he was saying that we do not respond to questions that have been posed to the NAC. And I want to dispute that to say we do respond to the question. As a matter of fact, as of today, There's not a single outstanding question that has not been responded to by the entity. And I was saying that the acting CEO can also confirm this, because at least we are aware when the department sends us all the questions that come through from the portfolio committee. So I wanted to confirm that. Excuse me, and then let me also ask the acting CEO if she wants to add in on any of the other comments that have been made by Councillor Mhlongo. Sorry, Honourable Member Mhlongo. Apologies for that. Julie.
Thank you,
Not
Chair.
to respond in specific questions that on. Okay. Acting CEO.
Let me respond, Honorable Chairperson. The
going
name
on?
of the individual, meaning the corruption watch number that we have assigned, is Ms. Palesa Mupedi. And in terms of...
Thank you, yes.
Okay.
Sipala, why are you just opening your thing? Please, Valumbogo, we're waiting for you. I'm not sure, but we're not even sure what we are still continuing.
Honorable Chair, I'm not sure whether you had the response to the question on who's managing corruption call center. The name was provided. I think there was a second question from Honorable Mhlongo that was specific. I also am losing audio a bit, so I'm hoping it was responded to. Those were the two questions that were direct follow-ups, if I captured that correctly, Honorable Chair.
The last question was not captured, though it did not respond through you, Chairperson.
Honorable Chair, I was still on the floor and there were a lot of instructions. If I may continue. Okay, let me continue. The second question was asked as to when the office. We will open the office in the next few days, but we're also assessing the situation in terms of the safety of the NAC. And we wish to reiterate that the work of the NAC is continuing. We are in the office, there are staff in the office, operations are continuing even when people are working remotely. The call center staff is in the office as we speak currently. The NAC's door being open does not preclude any services that are rendered by the NAC from not being done. And opening of the NAC in terms of the reception area, people accessing the area, we are ensuring that we will definitely be opening in the next few days for people to access the office if they want services from the reception area. Thank you.
Honorable members, I was kicked out. I'm not sure where we are. Honorable members.
Chairperson, I can hear you, Dennis Joseph. We can hear you.
Yes, I was kicked out. I'm still seeing the hand. Yes.
No, we received a response now on but no, still not a full answer, complete answer as to, in fact, it's a different answer than to earlier answers. But thank you, Chair. You'll be back. We can hear you.
Okay. Can I propose to you, honorable members, especially Honorable Mhlongo and the entire honorable members, that can we, Honorable Mhlongo, in this point, asking the department led by DDG and then the chairperson of NAC, that if really the confirmation is that you are not yet answered all the questions, with your due respect, can we ask again that Honorable Mhlongo must just indicate those questions, and then we'll expect those responses. Because I don't know why the questions are not fully responded. That's my proposal, honorable members.
Honorable Chairperson, Dennis here, can I come in? Chairperson?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
thanks. I still, I hear now that the office will be opening in the next few days, but if a direct question is asked on what is the person's name who work in a call center, it is, it's a straightforward question. There's either someone working and they have a name, or there's no one working.
Say, Mr. Sipedi,
And
where are you, Chairperson Dlamini? The acting CEO, when I was just kicked out, I've heard that she was naming that person. Acting CEO?
Yes, Chairperson, Honorable Chairperson, I'll repeat the name. I said the name is Ms. Palisa Mopedi. Thank you.
Yes, I've heard you. Now, I'm saying that any other questions who are outstanding, I'm taking the responsibility as the chairperson of this committee that Honorable Mhlongo do those, forward those questions. I'll liaise with the office of Ujabu and Zoleka. They are doing well on following the outstanding questions, and then I'll do so to talk to the department that they must do a follow-up to the NAC. I thank you. Honorable members, I was about now then to give it to the DM. DM, that's your platform.
Thank you very much, Chair, and greetings to the honorable members and the members of the National Arts Council. With your permission, Chair, can I close off the video? Thank you so much. I want to start by, Chair, by actually appreciating the fact that the observation that I have made in respect to our interaction with NAC as the portfolio committee. There is some improvement in terms of how the questions are being responded and how the interaction is compared to the initial interactions and this interaction. Even though there could still be areas that needs improvement, but one's observation is that there is a better interaction compared to the previous ones. But also, Chair, I want to reflect on some questions that, or comments that members have raised, and that the NAC must take this as something that is about to improve how they function. One observation that Honorable Mhlongo makes is that the NAC is reactive rather than proactive. And I really want the NAC to take this positively and make it as something that they can improve in terms of how they share information to the community of creatives, in terms of making sure that rather than using only their website to respond to some, or as the chair was saying, that some of their responses to the journalist, they put them in their website. Time and again, they must also interact with media and release statements on how they are working, so that there is that healthy relationship between the creatives and themselves. And I think that they must take it positively, so that they are not only on media or on the website when something had happened on the NAC. It must be something that is continuous. And I thought that for me is very important, and that they must link it with what Honorable Mhlongo said in terms of the marketing and the communications manager, that what then needs to happen is that there should be a continuous communication in that order. That will also improve how then the people look at the NAC in general. There is a question that I know was raised about the policy on acting, which I think when the NIC responded, I think the acting CEO said she cannot be able to say when the posts are going to be advertised. And I thought it's important that at some point, the portfolio committee must be given the time frame. It is not fair that we can come to the portfolio committee and say we don't know when some post will be advertised and have people acting forever. And I think that will also, because you must be saying as the NAC, we allow people to act for a period of 6 months.
Mafu for the minister. Mafu for the minister.
So I thought it's important that those things, we must just clarify them and make sure that at the end of the day, there's comfort from the members of the portfolio committee, and also to just how we manage the NAC in general. So I thought it's important. And for me, one area that I really want to comment on is the fact that members have raised an issue of the threshold for the support of the artist. That is there a threshold on this, so that at the end of the day, there isn't just anybody who gets, probably, I'm just making a number, 10 million and others get 100,000. How do we manage the threshold? That also helps us in terms of managing how we manage the NAC. So I thought it's important that some of the things that are raised, even if we think that they are critical or we think that they are very, they get into us, but we take them, and when we go back, we look at them and use them to improve how we function. I really want to take what Honorable Stolle raised about some percentage that generally the GDP must say, this is some money that the creative artists must get, the same way that we do when we deal with sports, athletes and everything. But this is what, as the PSP is being implemented, at the end, when they interact with Treasury and look at how then we move forward to deal with how we do our work, these are some of the recommendations that must go forward. And we should be able to say, out of what we have done in the PSP, what have we learned? What is it that we can improve in us as NAC interacting with the creatives? So I thought of some of the things which we must just take them positively and be able to say, this is what we're gonna do better as NAC, as the department, to make sure that moving forward, NAC serves creatives better, the department helps the NAC to do some of those things better. And therefore, for me, this interaction today, I really don't want to look at it that it has been negative. It has been one of those good things, because members are raising things that can help us to do our work better. And I really want to appreciate some of the questions that have been raised. And thank you very much from the NIC and from the department that they have responded to the questions. I know that some, they felt that they are tedious and they are repeating the same thing, but look at them objectively and long term. They are meant to assist you to do your work better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, DM. Honorable the Minister. Honorable Minister.
Chair, it seems that the Minister is having technical problems with his network, Chair. He's been trying to log on, but he's not getting back here.
Oh, I did see when he was in here. Did you see when you You said minister is in here, was in here.
No, he
Honorable
was in and then he was kicked out.
Like myself now, I'm kicked out. Whilst you were talking, I didn't listen you, Honorable Deputy Minister. Let me take this opportunity to thank the department, the NAC, the AG. You know what I'm appreciating about you, NAC, through our department, is that when you started, you were having huge problems. That as this committee, when we're doing oversight, we were doing oversight, and when then we were criticizing you constructively and putting suggestions, we wanted that one other day you can come to this committee with this information that you are giving us. But in reality, as this committee, we are aware about in some of our questions which were raised, we're seeing that how can you manage to give entities as E5 with this less money? And in reality, this is, to me, this is not the issue of a department, is an issue of us also, and coming the BEEERs that can a treasurer do anything more than what they are doing. I do understand when the doctor was even giving us the information of was, what were you saying? We're saying that is it France? Those people outside this country of ours, we know even in sport, others, they can say Australians are doing that. We do appreciate, because we're here in South Africa, and with these PSPs, we know how we all struggled, and we do feel about artists, but the problem is that the money there, it's not the money that we can satisfy everybody, but try your best. We always constructive criticizing you. We always in that note, we are thanking you as, because we're not in your shoes, but when information, I can now release you NAC.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, honorable members.
Thank you, Chair.
And the office, whilst you are still, thank you so much. Yeah, now, yes, okay, let me listen. Now, the next item on the agenda is the consideration of our budgetary recommendations. I'm aware to circulate the report here, hoping that Fiona is with us.
Chairperson, yes, I am here.
Also, put your report, and I'm suspecting that the members, they've read the report, and then the only thing that now I can say, we're going to put it, you put it here, and I'll hear from them. Hey, this load shedding. I'm still on the platform.
Yes, Chair, you are audible, Chair.
Okay, okay. No, I'm seeing the report introduction.
Ukuphi usihlalo?
Ikhona ndijongile apha balo mbuzayo. Funda le nto ebekwapha. Andiyazi ndikhona. Honorable members, it was not just a short report. When you read it, you needed to read and reread, maybe for the first day and second day. You want that you must familiarize yourself about our discussion. But let me take also this opportunity to thank our content advisor to have this in-depth report. It was a long report, and when I started to see it, I didn't finish on the first day because I've started it very late. Honorable members, I've seen already Honorable Mhlongo, you all seen what he has written on our platform. Honorable members, can I ask that if there are things you think that you want to add or are not put on in the recommendations, and then from there I will be proposing the adoption of this report. Let me now I've seen Duduzile Sibia, Honorable Denise.
Thanks, Chairperson. On page, between page 19 and 20, can go back to page 19 or 20, talking about Dal Museum. No, go to 20. Where is it now? Yeah. The Afrikaans bullet.
Dal Museum.
Yeah, Dal Museum. I don't understand. And does it mean end? Monument. Dal Museum and.
Yes, ma'am, that's the name of the museum as it stands. It's Afrikaanse Dal Museum and Monument. So the N is Afrikaans, so written like
in
that.
Africa.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Honorable Dennis.
Thank you, Chairperson, and let me also support you in thanking the content advisor and everyone else who's contributed to this outstanding high standard report. Chairperson, I have raised certain questions over the weekend with Fiona, and I got in my information of clarity and satisfaction. But in general, I think I have noted the previous recommendations in the report, particularly with regard to the Winnie Mandela House and Sarah Bartman Center of Remembrance, that two outstanding projects not completed. But of course, the lead from the white paper that has been accepted, and the work that will come out from there, approved by Cabinet in August 2018, and that will come out there, I think will guide our committee also on the way forward. Very important documents. But in general, I'm very pleased with the detail to the extent that Fiona went, giving us a high quality report. It's much appreciated, Chairperson, and I think we can as a committee feel the appreciation and proud that we have the staff of caliber of staff that we have in this committee. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Dennis. Really, this is on.
Ngiyabonga sihlalo. Cha
Honorable Zone.
Ngiyabonga sihlalo, cha umbiko mude sihlalo, kodwa cishe ukufake konke. Bengiphakamisa ukuthi siwamukele umbiko sihlalo. Ngiyabonga.
report by Honorable Zondi. Honorable Adams. Honorable Adams.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I second on the proposal of the adoption of the very well structured BRRR report.
Thank you. Any other view? Honorable members, I did tell you that I've seen on our screen, Honorable Mhlongo raised that they're having reservations. I'm suspecting we must note that. In that note, the report has been adopted. I thank you, honorable members. Again, let me thank our staff. I'm suspecting Fionn, I'm not sure whether Usolomon is still with you, because sometimes I do see Usolomon attending our meetings. This is a very professional report and a detailed one. I'm not lying when I've said I read this report twice. Thank you so much. This is a good work that we are doing, I imagine. Honorable members, on that note, let's go to our minutes. The minutes of the 14th. Can we be fast? There are those who are going to the bus at past. I'm taking for granted that everybody did read the minutes. Thank you. Thank you, our staff. Honorable members, I'm putting the minutes of the 14th in front of you. I'll now look at the hands. I'm seeing Honorable Sibia's hand. Yes, Honorable Smith. Is it? Okay, yes. Honorable Smith, we're having a very serious off network. Any other hand?
Chairperson.
Yes.
Yes, I'm proposing the adoption of the minutes as it is. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Smith. The proposal of adoption of the minutes by Honorable Smith. Any seconder?
Chairperson, I'm not sure if my members are on. I don't.
But also I'm not sure, Honorable Veronica.
If they're on, then I can't second. If
Yes.
they're not on, then I can't second.
Chairperson, I second the adoption.
Thank you, Honorable Veronica. Thank you. Thank you, honorable members. Honorable members of this committee, we've got a lot to do and we've got to learn on the way, but I do appreciate the engagement that we are doing when any entity even to the department that you are doing. I'm appreciating the work that you are doing. The minutes are adopted.
We have the minutes of the 18th as well, Chair.
Oh.
Yes, Chair. We have two sets.
Can you rush, because we'll short off members now when they are going to the bus.
Chair, I read the minutes. I'm satisfied with the minutes. Someone can just propose and second.
Yes, we are all read the minutes. Who must propose the adoption of these minutes?
Chair, I propose the
Can I
adoption of
have
the minutes.
a hand?
Member Veronica proposed.
Chairperson, I propose the adoption of the minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Veronica. I heard you, Honorable Malomane.
I'm seconding.
No one can just second it. I want the hand.
Thank you.
Thank you. And who
Malomane seconded.
Else meeting that you must raise hand? That's what I was not aware that there was somebody seconded, but I was looking according to the hands. So much. The Honorable Malomane seconded. Your hand up for what, Honorable Member? To that, the minutes. Or he's having the minutes. Adopted. Honorable Veronica proposed. Let me repeat, because Honorable Member, we are all having a problem of network. Honorable Veronica proposed and Honorable Malomane seconded the minutes. Jabu?
Yes, Chair, I've got that, Chair. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Honorable members, yes. I've thanked you already, Honorable. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you to staff of our.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you to all.
And of the department. Thank you so much of you.
Thank you all.